All right, folks, this week we sat down with Trevor Jacob, and this man has lived a wild life. That's an understatement. He was a child prodigy on a snowboard. We're talking big sponsors at a young age, X Games, great career as a pro, and then he transitioned into what I would call Nitro Circus stuff. He backflipped everything from a snowmobile to a trike. He was hanging with Travis Pastrana, doing all kinds of wild stuff. He recently went to federal prison for 6 months, which we get into in the episode. It's a great show, wildly interesting. A couple announcements before we get into the show. We got Bombhole Cup coming up at Brighton, April 5th and 6th. Mark your calendars. Also, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or on YouTube, just don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And lastly, huge thanks to our Patreon members for supporting the show, as well as our sponsors. This show is brought to you by Woodward, Bubs, Pub Beer, Mammoth, Oakley, Hippies, Turtlebox, Nitro, and Run Through a Wall. All right, folks, let's get into it. The Trevor Jacob episode.
You are listening to the
Hey, MFM. See you on the lift. Back attack, dude.
Bon Voyage!
Hey, yo, homies, good.
Slide down them big hills, you know what I mean, on the big, nice burgundy snowboard.
Okay, welcome to the Bomb Hole, which is presented by Run Through a Wall Smelling Salts. Now today, co-hosting, we got shipping guru for the Bomb Hole, Mr. Danny Spadero. What's happening, Dan? Nice. Feeling strong?
I am strong.
That's debatable. Yeah. Silk, how we doing, brother?
I am strong.
Silk D on production as always, and we have Trevor Jacob in studio. What's happening, Trevor?
What's happening, Chris? How you doing today?
Doing great. Flew in for the day to do the show, huh?
Yeah, I have to do something else in Park City later, but you're the main man of the hour. Came to see you.
Appreciate that. Well, I want to jump right in because for our listeners that don't know, in snowboarding, you were the youngest person to make a U.S. Open half-pipe finals. You are a U.S. Olympian for border cross. You've jumped the train in Tahoe. You spent your whole life in snowboarding. You moved on to Nitro Circus and all this type of stuff. But most recently, you just did a bid. You just did 6 months you were sentenced to in federal prison. And let's just get right into the hard-hitting topics. How was the bid? How was federal prison?
Man, it was a hell of an experience. It was something like, I mean, just chaos at all times that you can't escape. And it was like super humbling. There was so many life lessons in there. But yeah, I honestly, like I needed it in a way to humble me to my core and be like, oh my gosh, like people are living literal hell every day and they've been here for a very long time. And it was just like humbling and kind of like my own, in a weird way, it was like my own comedy show, like getting to witness, like you can't obviously film in there or do anything at all, but like if you were to watch what I was watching in my eyes every day, it is literal, just absolute insanity. So,
were you scared, or how was it when you first walked in there?
Yeah, I mean, man, the prison stories go on for like I could talk to you for days about how insane all of it was, but it was definitely scary at times, and just realizing a lot of different, just like there's just everything is so unpredictable, and it was, you are having to really watch out and be careful. But like I said, I'm a kid that grew up in Mammoth and really spent my life in action sports, like you said, and for me to really look at that and then kind of reflect as I'm sitting in a prison cell, and I'm like, how did I get here? Why am I here? And like, what? You obviously have something wrong. You did something wrong here. But I do deep down, and I'm a pretty spiritual person. Like, feel like it was in the cards for me, and it could have been a whole lot worse. And just humbled by the experience, and also grateful for it because it taught me a lot.
Yeah, just leaning into that, talking about moment of reflection. You have a lot of time to reflect in prison. Do you got any major takeaways from that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really beats you to your core, and it forces, prison is designed to rehabilitate, but it's really there to break you. Like, it's there to beat you down and basically take your soul. Like, seriously. And I've watched, there's guys in there that I spend every day with that have been there 15, 20, 30 years already. And it's like, they're they're gone, you know, and it really makes you realize that the core values of life, you know, love, you know, like caring about your family, your health, like just the simple things, a good meal, food, you know, sometimes you don't get food. Sometimes there's just these little tiny things that you take for granted, clothes, not sleeping in a, you know, huge room full of people that are just like, just it's insane. So like the little things, just being in this room, smelling the air, being around good vibes, like all that little stuff, because you don't realize all those freedoms that get taken away, and just freedom in general, like I said, just being able to breathe fresh air and not be in, you know, a confined space, like little tiny things, and break down those details to the fundamentals of like what really matters.
Wow. Yeah, hearing a lot of appreciation in that.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of lessons, you know, a lot of things, a lot of like just people that I spent time with, and realizing all these little lessons, but overall it's just humility and just really appreciating life and gratitude and you know, yeah.
Cool. Did you make any friends in there?
I mean, I would say that I spent time with certain people versus others. I wouldn't consider any of them friends, but yeah, definitely met some characters, to say the least.
Do you stay in touch with anybody?
No, but the funny thing is that I was on the news. I was like on worldwide news. So, and you know, I mean, there's a lot of politics around the TVs because the TVs are controlled by gangs and whatever. But they actually, like as soon as I got there, I was like prison famous on the first day. So like the whole entire prison felt, you know, like that's the guy, that's the plane guy. And then the guards and the whole thing. And that actually turned into me getting set up with a fake drug test, and I went into solitary confinement and like this whole thing, because half the people loved me, half the people hated me. It was like this crazy situation, and a lot of lessons to be learned in there. But yeah.
All right, we will get to snowboarding, your action sports roots, all that stuff. But before we do, I'm sure our audience is wondering how exactly you landed a 4.5-month stint in federal prison.
Yeah. Well, you know, if I was to take it to trial, which luckily I didn't, it was looking at 5 different felonies with a total of 80 years. And then it got brought down to 1, and it was looking like 20 years. And then I got, you know, different, just like by the grace of God, really got connected with a certain lawyer. And that ended up, it was really odd. I got sentenced to a year. And then in the last 5 minutes of the sentencing, you know, the judge asked me for my final words and then just cut it in half in like 10 seconds. And anyway, that was very, very gratitude filling. But so you ever played the game Grand Theft Auto?
Oh, yeah. Great game. I love just ripping somebody out of the car and just beating the shit out of them and taking their car.
Is that what you did?
Yeah. It's really fun. Is that why we ended up here? Yeah.
So basically, I would play that sometimes as a kid. If you have young kids, like probably don't let them play that game. But I would be injured or, you know, sick or whatever. Obviously, you know, broken pretty much everything in my body. So I was like, had a lot of downtime, especially as a kid, pursuing action sports like I was. And I would play that video game, and I would always I wouldn't really do that, you know, violent stuff, but I would do the cheat code for the plane, do the parachute, fly the plane around, jump out, pull the parachute, watch the plane crash on the ground. And then I was like, with like a really young kid, I'm like, I want to do that in real life someday. Like, I don't know why. Like, it would just be one of those bucket list things to just like, before I die, I'm going to do that. And then, you know, push came to shove. I started having this conversation with a close friend, and we just started talking about like, you know, I got my pilot's license. I've been flying for many years. And then I was like, we should do that before I get, you know, older. And then he was going to come with me. And then it just kind of steamrolled into like, oh, this opportunity to, you know, make this viral video, and like these different, like just things formulated it. And then all of a sudden this plane fell into my lap just randomly. And I was like, all right, it seems like, and then we were just going to do it in the middle of nowhere, clean it up, like not do anything. And then it just started, you know, the peer pressure, which is a whole different topic of doing things for clicks and, you know, watching friends die over, you know, say social media attention, you know, I've seen that. So, but anyway, really what happened was just this, it was like, it's kind of hard to explain how it all just felt like it just fell into place as a life lesson for me. Like as far as, you know, like I said, from a spiritual standpoint, it just felt like one of these things that this, growth for me in life was going to have to take place with a situation of some sort that was really intense. And it just so happened to manifest itself through this plane thing. But it was just a bad decision. Like I just chose to go out, film this thing. And I was like, all right, I'll put it online if the GoPros work. I doubt they'll work. Flew out, jumped out of the plane, and, basically landed in a bunch of poison oak. And, actually that's a whole other story that, I basically died on the way out, but didn't. And people are like, that's fake. You're such a fake actor. But no, like I had to hike like 15 miles with no water, nothing, like just a horrible decision. And it turned out to be real. Like I was drinking out of a cow shit water pond and just like crawling on my hands and knees after a while, like 15-hour hike out of this massive mountain. And, but anyway, I put the video online and I had it run by a certain group of lawyers. I'll just say that. And they're like, yeah, I don't think you really broke any laws. Like you just, legally have to report it as a crash. And, there's nothing really like that says you can't crash your own plane, I guess. And that turned out to be a federal terrorist charge of intentional destruction of an aircraft that I was unaware of. And this just turned into the last 3 years of my life, really, of just like this crazy experience where I had no legal, knowledge or understanding of the law or any of this. It's just opened me up to this whole different side of the world that I'm just like, oh my God. Like, yeah. So that's how I ended up in federal prison.
Well, I'm glad that you came and did the show after, because we were talking about doing it before, and I think it worked out perfect. Now, if I think about you and your circle and, the types of people that you're around, and, you have Travis Pastrana jumping out of an airplane with no parachute. You have all these guys that are base jumpers and dirt bikers, and jumping out of planes is like nothing for you guys. So I could see it maybe not being that big of a deal with your guys' circle, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly like if it's just a group of friends and I and we're sitting here, it'd be like, that's not even a thing, like, okay, let's go fly a plane. Okay, you skydive, whatever, like just jump out of the plane. Like it's not, I honestly, I mean, I don't want to sound like an egotistical asshole, but like I wasn't nervous. I was just like, all right, like I'll just go do this. But then the issue and the, stupidity came from actually posting the video, seeming to get attention from it, and then allowing, which I had no idea, the world, like as soon as one news platform gets onto it, then 10 others get onto it. And then, it just turned into this massive thing to make an example of this social media kid, which I'm like, they're calling me a YouTuber, which, yeah, I've made YouTube videos, but I'm like, I don't even think I'm a YouTuber. I just post some videos sometimes, but, yeah, it was like not that big of a deal. But then, I don't want to come on here and say like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, because it turned out to be a massive deal, and it turned out to be a reflection point for me to be like, what, so for the kids watching this, like, I guess the real lesson is, you don't want to go out there and make, basically a fool of yourself, or try to get attention, or try to do this thing, which ultimately at the end of the day, it was not the original intentions. But like just be careful seeking that out, because it is a dopamine addiction, and especially the younger generations, I think, are going to have a lot more trouble with that. And I should be made an example of with this situation to be like, oh shit, like, yeah, you can end up in prison.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's a great topic, because kids nowadays, we grew up wanting to be a skateboarder, or a baseball player, or a doctor, or a fireman, or like kind of realistic goals. And I feel like if you were to do a poll of young kids, like YouTuber would probably be up there, you know? And so I would love for you to specifically unload on why that's dangerous for our society.
Yeah, I mean, any of us in this room didn't grow up with social media, as like a 10-year-old, and we're all probably out building jumps or just out all day, like I would just be out playing in the woods or whatever. And yeah, now it's just like this thing that has engulfed us as a society, and it really is everywhere around us. It's, I mean, you have to have social media for your business to succeed, and you have to have like all the content and all this. I mean, look what we're doing right now. Like, it's just the way the world is now. And yeah, I mean, I think that if you have the tendency to be I'm a pretty like intense, I would say, like I'm very passionate about my goals. Like if I'm going to do something, I get it done, like I just commit to like I kind of just always set out to do something, and I'm like, I'm going to see if I can do this just to see if I can do it. And if you have that mentality, or you're trying to like push something, social media you can get in a lot of trouble, and you can not understand why you're doing certain things. Like, for me, I had so many injuries. I probably had like 5 years of injuries of healing time. I mean, and over the course of like, as that started to progress, I remember I had a nearly paralyzed broken back, and then I had my ankle reconstructed twice. And during that time, I'm like, okay, why are you here? Like, why do you do what you do, and why are you always pushing it to the point of physical injury? Like, you have something wrong. So I started to dive into psychology and really dive deeply into, like, I realized through these injuries, I'm like, shit, you're not smart. You're 18, and you have like you just don't really have a true education. Like, I'm going to dive into this shit myself. And through that, I realized, like, oh, this is why you're wired this way. You're dopamine addicted. You have you have this. So then I just stopped everything for a couple years. And I was just like, I'm going to prove to myself that I'm in control of my own reality. Like, I can just not do anything. I don't have to push the limits. I don't have to make myself feel that feeling. And then, that becomes a pendulum emotionally, where you're in the deepest lows, and then you're in the highest highs. And I couldn't figure out, like, why can't I balance that? And, with social media, it's something that I think we really need to educate the youth on in a massive way, because, it seems like the thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And especially when you look at, the world that you were kind of in with the Nitro Circus guys, in some ways, it's like, I would classify that as like almost shock value entertainment. And if that's the wormhole that you open up, for example, we do a podcast, right? I don't have to do we just have to have a good conversation.
Yeah.
And it's totally replicable. It's totally repeatable. But if you start doing stunts that get clicks and views, and you're constantly having to one up your stunt, and you're constantly having to one up yourself to do a crazier stunt and a crazier idea and a crazier thing, that seems like, things get out of hand really quickly. And also balancing, you mentioned it earlier, but, trading your self-worth or judging your self-worth rather on, did this video perform well and get a lot of views? Did it get a lot of likes? Like, judging your self-worth on that is a really dangerous thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And honestly, like, I've been around, the biggest celebrities and all and what you really realize in a lot of ways, I'm not speaking for all of everybody, but, if you're judging your self-worth on those things, and you're focusing on that, like, oh, did this get 10 million views, or did this get, or how many followers and all this stuff, you're actually taking away your self-worth and putting it outward. And a lot, I would say 99% of all of those people on the highest level that I've been around, they are the emptiest. And it's because of that. Like, what does that quote say?
I don't know the key to success, but the key. Go ahead. You want to read it?
I don't know the key to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everybody. Now, if you're trying to please everybody on the internet, and these people don't give a shit about you,
Yeah, good luck.
right? Like, you're fucked. It's a recipe for 100% failure. And then you're going to emotionally attach your meaning to your own life, to how these people think about you. That's been the biggest takeaway from the plane thing, is like, I would send, these comments, people are writing like, oh, I'm like the most hated aviator, and like all these people writing the funniest comments ever. And we'd send it around, and like friends or whatever, like, think it's so funny, some of the stuff these people come up with. But like, and I'm like, at a point, I'm like, man, it kind of does weigh on you. Like, but one of the biggest takeaways, what I'm getting at, is you just have to know deep down who you are, and what you do, and how you treat people on a day-to-day. Because if you're emotionally attached to like the internet and how people think of you, like, you're gonna be miserable. Like, you can't, you cannot, like, if somebody comments on this, oh, what an asshole, piece of shit, blah, 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 like, like, I'm sorry you have the time out of your life to take away. Like, I'm just sitting here having a conversation with you guys and really enjoying myself and trying to add value. So, like, I don't care about that. Yeah. But, and we can't.
On the flip side, I agree with what you guys are saying. Social media is a dangerous place. That video was dope though, and it did numbers.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, okay, so I don't know Trevor Jacob, the aviation guy. I don't know Trevor Jacob.
I didn't know him either. I didn't.
But I'm like, I don't know this guy that base jump. I know Trevor Jacob, the snowboarder. from back in the day that's going huge in the half pipe. That's a border cross. But so when I saw you on the internet getting, people are coming at you. There's like videos debunking the plane crash. Oh, well, this is fake because he did this, and then the latch is open, and I was in the wormhole, dude. I was deep, and I'm like, damn, he doesn't have a lot of fans for this video. I'm noticing people aren't fans of him.
People love to hate, though.
People
love to hate.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna be used as this guy that just pisses everyone off. That like, okay, like, yeah. Anyway, so.
Well, cool. That was fun chat. Let's go back to the snowboard roots. Let's go back to Mammoth Lakes, California. Tell us about it.
Man, growing up in Mammoth is, I think the best thing that ever happened to me. I lived in LA with my family until I was 9, and then my dad is a contractor, went up there to build a house, and I begged him to let me come with him. And then my mom and brother didn't want to move, so we would see them on the weekends and whatever. And then 1 year later, they moved up to Mammoth. So from 9 years old until about 20 years old, I was in Mammoth. And, that's where I've spent most of my life. And it was, I guess I don't really appreciate how much it meant to me until you leave and until you're not a kid anymore. Where I'm like, damn, like we just got to go out as kids, a group of kids on our mountain bikes or on our snowboards or wherever, and end up at whoever's house and just kind of live this freedom, mountain, childhood and learn a lot about the mountains, learn a lot about, nature, and just, it was a really, really important and meaningful childhood that I'm very blessed, especially as I get older, realize more and more.
Cool. And from what I remember is you were a bit of a child prodigy. How did it look for you in your arc of, trying to make it as a snowboarder in Mammoth?
Yeah. Honestly, in a way, I remember I was like, what do you want to focus on? I was 9 or 10 years old. I was just like, what sport are you most passionate about? And I would always get super stoked and excited about skateboarding and biking in the summer. And I was like, oh, I want to like focus on those. And then snow and winter would come around. And I'm like, I just want to snowboard. And so snowboarding just ended up taking over. And I would, I literally just would snowboard every single day. I went to Mammoth Elementary School, and I would take the bus to the mountain, or my dad would drive me if he had time. And I would get to the mountain at like 2:45 and ride until 4. And then on the weekends, I would just, live up there, literally live at the mountain. And, so then I just started doing like the local USASA contests on the weekends, and just like started doing those. And then my dad took me to nationals that year, and it was like this awesome event. I just kind of fell into it. And then a couple years more of just competing, and then my dad took me to the US Open in Vermont, and then I won the junior jam, and I was so if you remember the original US Open, I don't know how it is, but you get entered to have the opportunity in a lottery to go be in the pro men's event. So I'm 13, and my dad puts me in the lottery because like we're here all week, like we may as well. And I got into the lottery, and so I kept qualifying to the next round. It was like the pre-qualifier, and then the qualifier, and then like the semi-qualifier, and then like the semifinal, and then the final. Yep. And I just kept kind of sneaking through. I'd make it by like 1 spot or 2 spots, and then it was like the day of the semifinals, and I was like, okay, I'm here, like I qualified. And then I just remember like the crowd, and that's kind of, I'm bringing this up now because it was kind of the staple of where things changed, where I was just this kid that would go to the mountain every day and just, have fun with my friends and just like goof off and, whatever, like didn't ever even think about money or like fame there was no social media. There was it was just like, oh, I just want to like see what I can do in snowboarding as a young kid. And then I did the semifinal. I remember like looking out and just being like, this is crazy. And then I made it to the final. And I just remember I owe a lot to Sean White this day, actually, because I'm 13 years old. I'm standing at the, ready to drop in, and he's about to drop in right before me. I'm, just standing up there, and he was like so stoked for me, and just no one else was really talking to me. It was like a really intense vibe, at least for a 13-year-old standing up there. And he was just like trying to like relax me and just be cool. And then I ended up, I don't remember what place I got, like close to last place in the finals, but it was still like I made the finals of the US Open at 13. I was so stoked. And then that day, Sean was like, told his agent, he's like, grab him, get that kid. And And he did. And by that time, I was already with, a few sponsors. I think I was already with Forum.
Youngblood.
Yep. And then it was just, I think, like Oakley at that time. And then, but anyway, like other things started to, like, from that day, it was like, okay, like Nike, like, boom, I was with Nike already, but then it just steamrolled. Like, and it was like a double-edged sword because it put a pressure on a 13-year-old that I know built me today, but I think most, a 13-year-old should never have to deal with like what that really entails, because all of a sudden it turned into like a job as a 13-year-old. You have an agent, you have all these sponsors, you have all this stuff that, like, I was just this mountain kid, and it just turned like just Hollywood, not Hollywood in a way, but just like fucking it just flipped the script to like, this is how you have to be now. You got to be here. You have to fly here. You got to go there. And it's just like, I was ready for it, but it was pretty intense. But yeah, and I also want to give a shout out to Jake Burton. That same time, Jake was talking to the Forum guys, which I think right around then, it might have been a few years later, but Jake was also like, keep this kid by all means. Like, do not let this kid go. And I only got to meet Jake one or two times, but like, just knowing that that's what happened is like, that'll always sit heavy with me.
Wow. I think that's really special. Now, I'm curious at this point, you go from recreational snowboarder that's just riding Mammoth, having fun, going to nationals. All of a sudden, overnight, you have agent, you have big sponsors, you have pressure. At this point in your life, are you just going around to all the pipe contests and just training, so to speak, for pipe?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but also just still riding. I would say from 13 to 15, I was just kind of in this phase of, I'm just still going to go ride my snowboard. And, I have this money now. And I have it was like, back then I was like, looking back, man, the money that these sponsors put behind me for no social media and no, like,
the glory days.
Nothing. I'm just like, looking back, I'm like, fucking crazy. Like, crazy.
What are you talking about?
Let's give us a number.
Cheddar biscuit.
Yes, give us a something to nibble on.
I mean, I'll just say, like, most of those sponsors are putting over $100,000 at me a year.
Woo!
God damn.
Yeah.
So is this?
That ain't bad.
As a 13-year-old, I'm
Yeah.
like looking back, I'm like, and I didn't even know it. I was still living at home, and like I had like this. Yeah.
That piles up quick when you're living at home.
Did you use the money, or was it a natural thing when your balls turned to steel?
No, I mean, yeah. No, I didn't. I lived at home until I was like 17.
Now, I heard a rumor that your favorite snowboarder was Shane Flood.
Definitely at that time, he was like because I would see him in the grenade videos, and then I would see him on the mountain in Mammoth, and he knew. So Bridges, obviously, I've known Pat Bridges very, very well since I was 8 or 9 years old, and so Pat and Shane would always ride, and Shane is like a savage, He knew but he knew that he had like a little fanboy that was like riding around. I'd ride with them almost every day. But he would fuck with me so hard. Like one time this is like a famous story around that group of people there's the deck rail in Mammoth. I don't know if it's still there.
Oh, it's still there.
And it was a flat bar. And so I got stuck on top of it. And then he came up and just pushed me off, and I just ate shit down the mountain. I'm like 10, I'm like, but yeah, he was always like, I just loved his style, and he was just like raw and, wearing the air blaster and just like raggedy. Remember he like gave me an air blaster and he was wearing like pajamas snowboarding. I'm just like, but
cut off sleeve hoodies. Oh, I mean, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. It's, it's obviously probably bigger in our minds than what it was, but God, the way I remember it, the glory days of Mammoth around that time when the entire grenade crew was just beating down Main Park.
Yeah.
And you were there witnessing it firsthand. What was that like?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I wish I was a little older, because, just wish I was a little older, but I still remember it clear as day. And it was insane. Like every day was just like a super park session. Every day. You just see, whether it was Danny or, like there's just so many memories of riding up Chair 6. I probably hold the record. People would argue this. I probably hold the record for most laps on Chair 6 over a certain given period of time, because I would never unstrap, and I would ride it from 8:30 in the morning till 4 p.m. every fucking day for like 10 years, but I don't know. I mean, that's like a big statement, but like, I put in some thought. But anyway, I got to watch these guys, like whether it was a main park session like that middle jump, like just watching people throw down, and then people just drinking, like just hammering beers on the smoking joints on the chairlift. Like I inhaled so much secondhand smoke as a 10-year-old. Like, and I'm just like, okay, like this is my life. Like I'm just gonna hang out with these guys. But they were always so respectful. Like no one ever, I'd be 13, 14 years old riding with all these guys, and no one ever, they always respected me as like a kid that got to really experience that, like real snow. I mean, dude, this the destruction and the crazy, like, I remember just going to some of those house parties. It was like 14, but just destruction, like just craziness. No one gave a fuck. And I think that was like a big aspect of me having trouble kind of shifting gears in life, because I was like, oh, well, this is how I think it should be, and like, this is how it actually is, So anyway, yeah.
I just saw these guys get blackout and then win the freaking contest the next day. Yeah. Well, we talked about Bridges earlier. Let's get into a guest question from none other than Pat Bridges. Here we go.
Real quick, before we get into this question, I got to let you know it's presented by Hippies. Made with sustainably grown chickpeas, gluten-free, non-GMO, plant-based, packed with protein. These things are seriously unbeatable, and they got some new flavors. They got the new flavor Blast Puffs. So good. They sent us a ton of them. I haven't stopped eating. They come in the blazing hot flavor. Very good. The perfect amount of spice, might I add. And they got the white cheddar explosion sitting back there, waiting for the next doggy door guest. Now available at hippies.com or Amazon. You're going to have to try them out. They're so good. They fill you up. They don't ruin the earth. They're exactly what you need out of a snack. And we got a deal for you. If you use promo code BOMBHOLE, all caps, you can get 20% off your order. So check them out, hippies.com. Find them on Amazon. Promo code BOMBHOLE, all caps, 20% off. Now let's get into the question.
Hello, Bombhole. Hello, Trevor. It's Pat Bridges here. Hey, Trevor, I'm curious. I remember when you started keeping track of all the chairlifts you've bomb dropped off of. And I remember when you were 50 and I talked you out of dropping off the chairlift at Aspen. I'm just curious if you're still keeping track of how many chairlifts you bomb drop off of and what your number's at now. Stoked to hear this one. I mean, known you a long time, Trevor, and I'm sure there's still a lot more I can learn from hearing this one. Hope it goes well. Bye.
Awesome. That's cool to hear. No, Pat, I'm not still keeping track, but it's definitely in the probably 30s or 40s in total. I know that I'm banned for life from Bear Mountain.
Actually, we have a Patreon question about that. Why don't you tee that one up?
Okay. Yep. All right. We got a question from T-Plane. And thank you all Patreon members for your support.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for spending your hard-earned money on supporting us. We appreciate you guys.
All right. T-Plane's question. After hitting the QP to chairlift, what did you talk about with the people on the chairlift as you're dangling, holding on under them on the ride up? Did you know them?
Yeah. So just to refer back to Pat, I don't still have track, but I've gotten to jump off of chairlifts all over the world, and Pat's been there for quite a few of them, and he's talked me out of some that would have gotten me banned from other mountains. But to jump into the Patreon question, I did know one of those people on that chairlift was Alex Lopez. Sick. And he knew. So I can't remember who the other guy was, but anyway, I was like, all right, you take a lap, and then I'm gonna try to jump onto the chair. And if I'm hanging, like pull me up, like grab me, She's like, all right, yeah, for sure. So then I drop in, I try to time it right, but I was a little late. And so the chair, like I just didn't get the pop that I wanted to, but I still grabbed onto it. And then I just couldn't lift myself up because I was strapped in. So normally if you're going to climb over a fence or grab, like, you can use your knees and your legs, but with a snowboard, like to push all that on an overhang is close to impossible. So I was like trying to get them to unstrap my board. And then at one point they just didn't have the strength to pull me up. And that was, I was like, I actually thought I was going to, so that went from like 10 feet up to maybe 60 or 70 feet within 20 seconds or so. And I don't remember what chairlift it is, but if you look at that video, it gets pretty high. And I remember holding on, and then all of a sudden my arms started to give out, and they just started shaking and shaking. I'm like, oh gosh. I'm like, guys, just grab my jacket or something. Like, I'm about to fall to my death. Maybe I wouldn't have died, but I've been really hurt. And I just remember like, oh gosh. And then the lifty at the top sees someone dangling and stops the lift. Because I'm like, you know, maybe another 30 seconds from the top. And I'm going, okay, you got 30 seconds, and you're going to be good. And I was truly like, it was so much weight. And then he stops it. And I'm like, I'm fucked. Like, I'm going to for sure. My arms, like I could not hold on anymore. And, you know, anyway, people are yelling at him, start the lift again. And I just made it to the top. And then the ski, anyway, I got kicked off Bear Mountain.
Incredible.
That's crazy. They stopped the lift.
Yeah.
Yeah, not.
That's like, I would see that and speed it up if I could.
I don't know if the video is still online, but
It is. I watched it.
Yeah, someone's like, start the lift again, you dumbass. Like, he's like yelling at the guy. And,
Yeah, and they grab you and
Holy
you come off
shit.
and all that.
and I took off down the hill, but they saw the footage and yeah.
It seems like if you compare yourself to the stereotypical snowboarder, they're not doing crazy shit. Like we're like trying to do tricks and shit on jumps, but like that's like a stunt. Like you've always been like a stunt kind of guy. I remember seeing you in Mammoth when you were a kid and you were all jacked up to try to backflip a snowmobile.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, respect, all wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Did that. Definitely almost.
Didn't you not get it around or something? for the first time?
I think it probably took me I tried it like 12 times and the snowmobile actually broke. But no, I think that video's got to be online still. But I did get it around. I backflipped the snowmobile and then landed and then just didn't right away because the bomb hole was so big and I didn't build it in the right spot. But I did later backflip snowmobiles. But I was 16 at the time, and in the snowmobile, a couple of times I would just go for it and then the snowmobile would be above me and just miss me by like an inch coming back down. And but I did get it around. And yeah, I mean, you're right. Like I didn't fit totally into the mold of a snowboarder, and I think it was just me trying to just challenge myself as far as not in a way that's not like authentic snowboarding, but I was just like, oh, I see that I could try this on my snowboard. It was just like a form of expression. And yeah, I mean, at my core, my heart will always be in snowboarding. I'm a snowboarder. Like I unfortunately I didn't snowboard one day last year. Was in prison, but that's the truth. And yeah,
Tough thing to do from prison.
yeah, it's definitely hard to do.
Get a lot of days on
my
the hill.
brother's like, I'm on the mountain. There's like the pow is so good. I'm like, shut up. And then I actually got out. What is it? I somehow like the seasons don't make sense in there. You forget about seasons. I got out in June and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go snowboarding. And no, the snow is melted, but yeah. So I mean, as far as not fitting in, yeah, I just always just trying to like, you know, entertain myself and just try to keep things interesting. But I would really focus on tricks. I would really learn, you know, like I was always obsessed with like some new thing, but you know, people weren't as impressed or interested in that than like some asshole that jumped off on the chair or like some guy that they try to put me in juvenile hall for jumping the train.
All right, we're going to take a quick intermission here to talk to you about our good friends over at Pub Beer, who just happen to be the official beer of questionable decision-making and cheap fun. That's right. You heard it here first. Whether you're just having a couple, maybe you're watching the game, Pub Beer's a great option. Cheap fun. Maybe you need 50. Did you just get dumped? Pub Beer's got you covered. Cheap fun every time. Pub Beer. All right, we're going to take a quick break with a message from our good friends over at Woodward Copper. Now, if you're like Chris and you got a kid, maybe this kid needs to be enrolled in a class to enhance their snowboarding abilities. There's nothing like getting taught by the best. And the coaches over at Woodward Copper got you covered. World-class coaches are going to help your child succeed in every way. With training indoors and out, on and off the snow, your child is going to have the ability to grow and maximize their ability to throw down and do insane tricks. All this and more can be found at the Woodward Copper's Park Rats session. Full day, weekend session. Get your kids some new tricks. Maybe make some new friends. They're definitely going to make memories that'll last a lifetime. To learn more, head on over to coppercolorado.com.
All right, well, moving things along here, we have a guest question from Kevin Westenbarger, absolute legend, photographer, K-Unit, still hits the biggest jumps ever in Mammoth, and absolute legend in snowboarding. So here we go.
Hey, Trevor, it's Kevin. I got a two-parter here for you. I'd love to hear you tell the story about the train gap and how 3 out of 4 of us almost died shooting that. Part 2, talk about the GKC Fest and specifically the girls' Cadillac that got burnt to the ground. Hell yeah, can't wait to listen.
I watched that. I was curious about that myself.
The Cadillac?
But we'll start with the train.
Yeah, man. So the train gap. This is okay. So Andy Hetzel, Temple Cummins, pioneers jumped the train in like '93, and it was in this old Fox movie called Air Raid, and I think it was in one of the TB movies or something. But am I wrong about that? Is it?
I definitely know it's in TB movies.
Yeah, but it was in this movie called Air Raid by Fox. Yeah, and a lot of people never even heard of that movie. It was one of my favorite movies. And I probably watched that video when I was like 3 or 4 years old for the first time because my dad was in action sports. He'd go to the trade shows and get all these, videos. And I would just in my mind is that age, I thought everybody was, like the dirt biker was the snowboarder and the snowboarder was the skateboarder. So I thought everyone was doing all the same stuff. So that's kind of tells a lot about like me. But the train gap was in that movie, and I was like, that's one of those things. Like I gotta do that before I die. Like I gotta do that. So I was 16 as well. 16 seemed like a year where I was just like, I'm just gonna send it. But
big year.
Yeah. So I figured out, where it was. I started asking. I actually later got into freight train hopping because I started to obsess over the train schedules, which are very hard to figure out from this jump. So I've ridden freight trains all around the country and, everywhere. And I've gotten, forehead pressed, revolvers pressed up against the forehead, ripped off trains, gone to jail for all that stuff. So like that was like I've seen a lot of stuff off freight trains. But going back from the train jump I started to learn about, where it was, where they jumped it, how it all went down. And then the first time I went with Kevin and a few other people, it took us like a full day of building up this ledge, this big lip off this ledge, because there was a lot of snow that wasn't matte, and it just didn't line up. So we spent the whole day building it, came back the next day, and we would have to wait. This is actually crazy. This goes in pretty deep. We'd have to wait, and you couldn't see the train, so we'd have walkie-talkies, and then somebody down on the tracks would see the train coming or hear it and go, train. So you have to already be strapped in and then drop in. So that first day, like, train comes, and then that's actually the photo, and I just dropped in, sent it, did like one test jump before then, and then got did the 360 over it or whatever. And then I actually later that day, I jumped 2 more trains or 3 more. There was an Amtrak train, and I'll never forget. I just did the same backside 360 as like every time. And I saw these people that saw me out of the Amtrak train, and this footage isn't anywhere, I don't think. But I was like, that must have been so cool. Like see a snowboarder jumping over the train from the train. And then anyway, like Bridges, this is where Bridges. So I was like wanting to get the photo. Kevin, the first time the train honked so loud, and he was on the tracks getting the picture, that it like just frazzled him completely, and he had to run. I mean, he was standing in the tracks, and you're looking at a freight train, so you can't blame him. And then like, boom, takes the photo, runs away. And I was like, I think not only could we get the photo better, I think I could do the trick better. I think I want to do, like a back 7 over it, or maybe just like a backside 180 over it. And so that first day was a success, but then we came back later in the year, and it was forced. The whole thing was rushed. Instead of hiking up there, I took my snowmobile, which is like super illegal, and we just like rushed the whole thing. We brought more people. We tried, the landing was just chunder. It was just not good, but I was like, whatever, we're here. We rushed the whole process of, cleaning up the lip and everything. And it was just like, everything was just not going our way. Like so we get up there, And there's a plow train. I've never even heard of a plow train, but basically it comes through and it just pushes all the snow off the side of the tracks or in the tracks to just get away from the train tracks, right? Whether there's, avalanches that came through or whatever. And as soon as we get up to the tracks, we see this, like we're on the tracks, but it had snowed. There's a big banks on both sides. And this plow train comes around the corner, and I'm not kidding you, it's pushing like a 30-foot wave of snow. And we're all just standing there. There's probably like 4 or 5 of us. And we're just like, oh, fuck. Like, this is going to hit us in like fucking 10 seconds. And we have camera gear. We got a snowmobile. We got all of our snowboards. We got everything. And we all just start running for the trees. Like literally, but you can't run. You're in deep snow. One of the filmers got completely buried. We had to find, like, you could see the top of his head. And then we had to unbury him. All the camera gear got buried. Like, everything was it was a mess. And when the snowmobile got launched into the trees, like, it was just this. I mean, we hypothetically had a snowmobile there. I'll say that because it's not. Allegedly, yeah. Anyway, then we just kind of like dig out the camera gear, unbury Nate, the filmer, and then we're like, all right, like, let's just take a breather. Let's just keep going. So we get over to the tracks and we get over to the jump, set the jump up. Landing is like a chunder hard pack jump, right? And we're just like, all right, well, like, fuck it. I'll still send it, I guess. And so the first train comes, I'm waiting. And the first train comes around the corner and it's a maintenance train. So it checks the tracks to make sure that there's not more snow before the big trains come back through. And this maintenance train comes through. There's like 3 cars on it. And then I'm like, hear train on the radio. So I drop in, I jump the train, and then all of a sudden the train stops. And I'm down on the landing. I start hiking up. I see this guy, this big old gnarly train conductor, has Kevin by the jacket like this. And he's like, and I couldn't hear what they were saying at first, but I'm like climbing up there, like little 16-year-old kid. I'm like, get up there. And he's like, you guys get the fuck out of here. And he's like, if we see this on the internet, Union Pacific's coming after you. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. And then left, like they just moved. So I'm like, like whatever, fuck those guys. So we stuck around and we just waited for the next train. And
naturally, that's the right choice. Yeah. So logic checks out.
I mean, like there's I'm not saying I'm perfect. I've made some pretty bad decisions in my life, but this is the truth. So we waited for the next train. They leave the next train. So this is where it gets like pretty intense. So it started to get hot. It's probably April and it's starting to get hot. The snow's melting and it's that slushy hot snow. And so we started to realize the snow was getting slower on the run-in. And so every 30 minutes we'd wait sometimes for hours and hours, no trains would come, So this time it was about 2 hours till a train, it had been 2 hours of me standing there strapped in. I'm like, fuck. So every 30 minutes we'd slide, like 3 or 4 of us, we'd slip slide the landing or the run in and try to get it all fast again. And then every 30 minutes, that was our rule. Like, we'll do it again. So it was about 30 minutes had been up and we're like, all right, let's slide slip it again. And I hear train. So I'm like, oh, and then my friend's like looking and then I hear don't go. It's a double stacked. So there's the container trains that are double stacked. Now that jump, you're probably not going to make it over a double stacked. But the first 3 cars are single stacked. So I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll time it right. And so I drop in and keep in mind, this run-in is sticky, like really sticky. But greedy little 16-year-old, like I'm going to get away with this. Not only am I going to, so you understand what I'm saying, right? Yep. The first 3 engines.
You'll clip it if you're too.
Exactly, yeah. So the first 3, so I drop early. It's actually funny in my own head, like what I see, because I drop in and I'm going to do a backside 360. That was like my trick over that gap, which is pretty boring, but like it is what it is. And the lip, as soon as I turn, the lip just gives out. Like I'm not looking at in front of me anymore. So I'm regular. I'm going like this off the jump and I turn to grab mute and I look away, and all of a sudden, just boom, and I'm like, and this footage is out there somewhere too. It doesn't look as intense as it really was because I had zero control. As soon as I like lip gives out, I'm going over the train backwards, and I remember I'm like flipping around, going, "You're dead! Like you're gonna die right now." And I get around, kind of like back to see where I'm gonna go, and I see like the edge of the railing of the train. And I see the conductor inside the train. We make eye contact, dude. We made eye contact. And then I'm like flipping over the train and I just ate shit into the landing, exploded, landed like straight on my ass. And I just didn't move for like 2 hours. I just like sat there, just like I'm alive still somehow. And then whatever, I put the video online. And they tried to take me to juvenile hall. It was like months or years of going to court in Truckee and this whole pain in the ass. It sucked.
Union Pacific came after you?
Oh, they came after me. Yeah. And they not only came after me for that, then I started being dumb and posting train hopping videos that were really exciting and fun. And then they came after me for that. So it's been an adventure. And I'm not necessarily like a rebel or trying to like break the law. It's just like some of these adventures just don't align with the law, I guess, but not in like a violent way. It's just, yeah.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Sidebar, we have a few prints that Kevin took the photo of you back three in the train on bombhole.com. Resolution could be a bit better, but all in all, great freaking moment. And I heard that had that been shot vertically?
Yeah, Bridges is like the first photo. It's all good, but Bridges is like, why isn't that vertical? That's supposed to be on the cover of Snowboarder Mag, but it was horizontal, so it was a doubles page in Snowboarder. But I ended up getting the cover of Snowboarder anyway with something else. So
what photo was that?
It's all good. It was it's actually switched because I grabbed the bull wheel of a chairlift against the wall in Snoqualmie, Washington. So I was like, we built this wall right against the wall, and then I grabbed the chairlift actually on accident. Tim Zimmerman took it. And I probably hit that thing like 300 times a day. Peter Line was there. That was an honor. I was like, Peter Line was like, just, sessioning with me. That was a special moment for me because, Peter's freaking legend. And yeah, so.
Incredible. Wow. Well, there's a lot to talk about. So let's just keep it going. Talking about trains, I did watch your YouTube video when you were 16, your road trip across country.
Yeah.
That was all going to be via hitchhiking, skateboarding, trains.
Yep. Yeah, that was crazy.
Walk us through that one.
Man, so I had a friend that lived in San Francisco that wanted to skateboard to LA, and he was like, will you come with me? I was like, absolutely. So we did that. It took us 5 days. And then I was like, we should do this across the country. And he was down and, 18 years old, just bought a one-way ticket to New York City and then just started skating and just had a backpack on our backs and had no idea what the rest entailed. And, it took us
through a couple highlights.
It took us a month exactly. I mean, we almost got kidnapped by this crazy hoarder lady that tried to act like she was giving us a ride. It took us to her like uncle's property and tried to force us to stay there. We got in another guy's car that he had just gotten out of prison and drove us completely in the wrong direction to like Iowa from like Pennsylvania or something, and was like trying to convince us that like he was our family and stuff. And then we got on a freight train in where's that? Pittsburgh. Got in a train in Pittsburgh, and then somebody saw me peeing off the train, like going into I don't remember where we were going, but somewhere, or Ohio. We were going to Ohio from
just hanging dong off a Freightliner.
You got to pee.
No, but I mean, they were in the middle of nowhere,
Yep.
like completely middle of nowhere. But somebody at a cross, section in the literal boonies saw me, called in. They stopped the train, and I'm like, oh, they're probably just doing a crew change or something, or just changing shifts on the train. And so we're hiding, and I had this little like green tarp that we're hiding under, just two 18-year-old kids with skateboards and backpacks. And then all of a sudden, I hear like a radio. And then I hear somebody walking like boots through gravel. And then I just hear the tarp crumpling or like hiding. And then I just see blue sky. And then all of a sudden I'm just looking down the barrel of a gun. Oh, and then it's pressed to my forehead. And he's all, get up now. And I was like, okay. And then we spent the next 3 days in a Ohio jail that was freaking insane. And that was when I was like, that was like my first experience. I was like, don't ever come back to. That was like that was terrifying. And I was like, don't ever come back to a place like this. It obviously didn't work, but, and then we stayed with friends and got to see so many different parts of the country, got to go to so many different skate parks. I mean,
double backy.
Oh yeah,
he double backied on Resi on a skateboard. He did a double backflip on a skateboard.
Yeah, there was like some hatred and like people were like, "That's not a true double backflip" and all this stuff. We stopped at Woodward in Pennsylvania, and I just started trying double backflips into the foam pit, and I was like, "I think I could probably do this." It took me, counted 108 tries it took me onto the Resi jump. On the 108th one, I was so depleted. It took me 5.5 hours of trying, and finally, I just like dropped in, just like delusional. I forgot what I was even trying. And I landed it, and I was like, yeah. So, but the funny thing about that was like the guards at that jail had just done it the day before or something, and they like looked my name up, and then they're like, I'm sitting in a cell, and they're like the guards with the AR-15s. I was in some there's no other like prisons around, so we were in some like high security, like some crazy shit, and the guards are like looking at me like, why are you little punk? Like, why are you here? And they were watching the video in front. Anyways, like this whole thing. And saw like just some crazy experiences, tons of like just, like just random wild people trying to take us in. Like a lot of people trying to take us in, but a lot of, super special just adventures. Like, if you're driving across the country, obviously if you're flying across the country, you don't really see what's out there. But if you're walking or if you're on a train or skateboarding, the furthest we skated was 50 miles in one day, just like through the just middle of nowhere.
Cornfield.
You get to see everything, and you just like slow down. You get to anyway. It was a fun time. Made it back to California, and yeah.
Not a lot to see in the middle of the country.
Yeah, have you not driven cross country before?
Oh man, many times.
Oh, but I'm saying, but prior to that,
I think maybe one time.
Because I was gonna say like that would be insane because you're driving for 3 days straight through cornfields. So I couldn't imagine being like, okay, we're gonna skate,
dude. I mean,
how sore does your push foot get?
I don't know if you saw. Like, there's a video, or part of that video, I'm like talking to a guy in a tractor doing road work.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm like we're so like literally so far, like hundreds of miles, probably from like maybe like 100 miles from any actual town. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, you are like the legend of legends. Like, he's just like chilling, just so happy, Like, I don't know.
You're like, any advice? He's like, drink lots of water.
Yeah, you just never run into somebody like that, or like get to. So there's a lot of just really, authentic, good vibes out in the middle of nowhere.
The pizza delivery guy gave you a ride.
Yep.
Like 50 miles.
Yeah, and you notice that I noticed from New York City out into the middle of the country, and then you get closer to LA. Those coasts, those cities that even the surrounding cities are so tight and intense, and the energy and the pressure and the people. But as soon as you get into the middle of the country, everyone is for the most part so chill, so relaxed, so much just happier.
Slows down a bunch.
Just happier, yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Boom! Nitro Snowboards is back at your favorite snowboard shop. Nitro was founded over 34 years ago by a couple of snowboarders and is owned and operated and run by snowboarders today. Supporting the snowboard culture through responsible business practice by supporting the shops first and developing some of the best boards, boots, and bindings over the last 34 seasons is why Nitro is still around and why we want to keep being here. Nitro co-founder Tommy DeLago said it best: anyone who takes the time to learn how to snowboard is a snowboarder and part of the Nitro family. Nitro has been supporting team riders since day one, and the team is stacked with a global presence of over 40 riders, from Sam Taxwood, Aero Etala, Brian Fox, Marcus Cleveland, Haley Langwin, Elias Elhart, Griffin Siebert, Christy Price, Sean Miskimen, Torgeir Bergen, Brantley Mullins, Benny Urban, Chuan Lee, Dominic Wagner, and a new member to the Nitro family, Iris Pham, people. Let's go. So what are you waiting for? Vote with your dollars this season and support a company whose mission is to support the snowboard community, the people, and the culture. Pick up your new Nitro snowboard gear from your favorite local snowboard shop this season.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and talk to you about our good friends over at Oakley. They got a new team collection this year with Sage Kotzenberg and Jamie Anderson. Yep, I was just as impressed as you. Designed for a memorable backcountry experience, utilizing Oakley's industry-leading, top-secret, extremely advanced technology that I myself cannot comprehend. This collection offers you a breathable, waterproof, and windproof experience. Designed with and for the athletes, bringing their personality into the design, you're not going to want to miss this new collection. So head on over to oakley.com and check it out for yourself.
All right, Trevor, let's bring it back to snowboarding here because we did talk about your early competitive days. We talked jumping the train, but you at one point did a huge pivot into border cross. Why did you choose border cross?
Yeah, so in the early days, like the USASA days in Mammoth, there'd be like, a slope style or a half pipe contest on a Saturday, or, and then a border cross on a Sunday, or like maybe every Sunday was something different. So, we'd just race, and it was always fun. I, grew up racing dirt bikes a little bit, but I'm very competitive and just love racing. I think racing, even running, like, any type of race is fun. And I hit this point where I was so pressured, like I mentioned, I was probably 18. I was 18. And, like I said, the sponsors and the expectations on myself, it was, again, like this pure snowboarder kid that felt now like he's got to be the next big thing. And there's the money and sponsors and agents and all the stuff behind it to feel obligated to do that. And I just hit this point where I was just done. I was just like, I basically parted ways with Nike the day after I broke my tailbone off my spine. I dropped a 30-foot cliff straight to a rock on my ass, and I hit so hard that it bounced me up. Like I caught air off of a rock, and it actually hit me so hard that I launched up and then started riding again, but I couldn't feel my body. I was completely numb. So I just fell over and had this out-of-body experience. First time I've passed out from pain. It was like really crazy. But then the next day, I'm in the hospital, get a text. They didn't know I was injured. They're like, hey, like, yeah, we're not re-signing anybody from Nike. Like it
was Nike 6.0.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was like, I don't know if I should get into that now, but or we definitely should talk about that.
Let's just get into it now.
Okay. So then we'll backtrack, or we'll go back to the border cross thing. Yep. But the early days, so anyway, then the next day after that cliff drop thing, laying in the hospital, Nike's done. And I'm just like, this whole thing's done. Like I'm done. And then I didn't really snowboard for probably a year. And then I came back and was like, no sponsors, nothing, had money. But I was like, I sold myself short on this snowboard shit because I know how much I love it. And I'm just going to go fucking balls to the wall. I hate the judging now. I think it pisses me off that 4 people decide the outcome of something that could be so much different if there were 4 other people. I'm not saying they're bad judges. I'm just saying that the style and diversity of an opinion is so great that it's like, that is just, I mean, unless it's like judging a super close fight, right? Like in MMA or something. It's like, could have kind of been either one. So I just wanted to get away from all that. And I was like, a race is a fucking race. And whoever wins, wins. There's no judges. There's no decision like, oh, who it should be. You either won or you lost.
Yeah, real black and white.
Yeah. So I came back to snowboarding. Like, I want to express myself somehow. And I'm just going to go do it in border cross. Like, so I took off in my truck. I quit snowboarding. I was healed from my tailbone. I was just done with it, and I went up to Hood and just started skating and snowboarding just for fun and hanging out up there. And I ran into one of the Olympic coaches for border cross, and I was like, let me come, like, see how I can do. Like, I want to come with you. He's like, come to New Zealand with us in a month, and, we'll find you some boards, whatever, and let's see how you do. And I was like, okay, yeah, sounds good. And I went down there, and I want to sound super humble right now because, I went there on the first day, and there was races and time trials and all this. It was a very, like, kind of intense jock vibe. But I won. I beat everybody. And I'm like, there's no way. Like, the time, like, the system on the time trials, I was like, it's got to be broken. Like, there's no way. Like, all these guys train all the time. And I just showed up. And I beat everybody. There's no way. So we go back up to Cardrona the next day, and I won again. And I'm like, oh shit! Like, you actually are. You're doing this. Like, okay. And then anyway, like that season, it was 2013. which I was like, okay, if I'm going to buckle down and really go for this Olympic thing, then you got to start now. And then I won the national championships here at the Canyons. And I was like, damn, like I didn't know. I'd never really tested myself since I was like a 9-year-old at USASA. And so I was like, whoa, like you actually can do this. This is crazy. And then I, got my spot on the US team, and then I got my spot on the World Cup. It's kind of a process that you really have to put in the time. And then the next year was the Olympics and the Olympic qualifiers. And the first stop was in Austria, and I just blew it. I got like 30th or something, and I was like, fuck. And then the next stop was at Lake Louise, and I was doing amazing. I was like, I just felt it. It was like negative 30 degrees, but I was like, all right, this is my time. Like this is the course. Like everything's perfect. Like it just feels like this is what's gonna happen. And I think it was in the semifinal, this kid bumped me, just like not pushed me or like we just bumped kind of, and it threw me sideways, and I just like skidded out and blew it. And I don't know, I got like 20th or something. And there was one last option for me to qualify, and it was in Andorra near Spain. And there was 2 events back to back. I just remember traveling down there, and I'm like, all right, man, like this is kind of your shot, like you're either going to do it right now or you're not. And man, I woke up that first day, and I was like, I'm just going to give her hell. Like I'm just going to go as fast as I can, just do whatever it takes. And I won that World Cup. I won, and I was the number 1 named border crosser for America, and I was to the team right there. And I was like, what? I didn't even compete the next day, and I was like, I don't know. It's like, whoa, I just did that. It's just like, so I want to see if I can do this, and then it's like when it actually works, you're like, whoa. So
that's incredible.
Yeah,
I heard the story about a consolation race where you may or may not have chucked a 360.
That was at the X Games. Yeah, I did that and almost took this guy's head off. I was actually in the starting gate, and I'm talking to this guy. He's like Russian. And he doesn't speak English. And I'm like, I'm going to do a 360, so watch out if you're next to me. He was on the first jump. He's like, huh? I didn't know. And I was like, I'm going to do a 360. And they're like, racers ready. And I'm like, boom. And then I just did it and like missed his head by like just a.
You go front 3 or back 3?
Back 3.
Nice.
And then.
Did you land?
I landed, and then I think I hit somebody else's board and just went down.
Oh, Jacob Ellis did a little bit. Huh?
I still want to do that, like, or just like a laid out backflip and then just keep going. Like,
higher percentage land there too. You don't have to go left to right at all.
For sure.
Yeah.
And higher or less decapitation rate. But and then anyway, the Olympic thing was cool. I was really upset. Like I had this. It was just personally, I'm like very competitive, and I knew. Like basically the day of the world, the national championships, I had this dream where like, it was kind of crazy. We were just talking about spiritual stuff. I had this dream, like how everything kind of had to play out. And it was like, this person's here, this person's there, go to this corner. Blah, blah, blah. It was like a dream laid out the night before. And I did it that next day. Like it happened to a T. So then the same thing happened in the World Cup, where I won. It was like the night before. And then at the Olympics, the same thing happened where I like laid out the plan subconsciously to win. And I was like, okay. So, and it happened. Every single round was happening.
So walk me through, because I'm not familiar with border cross. I'm guessing you have to go through qualifiers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's like 6 people that line up, and then there's 4 rounds. So you have to qualify for whatever through the time trials. And then there's like, I think, I don't even know, like 4 or 6 rounds of people, and then they all like get shuffled down to 3 people per round. So 3 make it through, and then it ends up to a final 6. And then it was the semifinals, and I was like totally tapped in, whatever. And then I think 2 people hit each other, but that threw me off kind of. But I was in some crazy shit. Like a lot of border cross is kind of a gamble, because you're just like, it's just wild. You just don't know what's going to happen. Like the first place guy can go down, take everyone out, and the guy in last wins.
Yep.
It's just like that happens. So I was in 3rd going into the final turn. I'm like, I'm making it to the finals right now, and like I'm going to fucking win this shit. Like that's in my head. Like I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm not trying to be cool. Like border cross isn't the coolest thing. Like people hate whatever. I'm just like, I'm just going to go live my life. I'm going to do this shit. And I'm like, I'm doing it, like and I come into the final corner, and there's like 100-foot jump with like 60 feet of landing or something like that. There's like a big jump where you can just hit this thing. And in border cross, you got to jump you're going so fast in some parts of the course that like you have to jump before the end of the lip. So you're dropping and you're back on the ground faster because the ground's faster than the air. So you
Bubba
have
scrub.
Yes, but like you got to just jump and like just make it over, and it's super crucial. But I was so like hyped in my mind, just kind of distracted of like all the chaos that just happened, and then I'm going to the finals in the Olympics. Like I could take a gold home right now. I just like lost focus, and I forgot. I'm going fast, and I forgot to do that little jump thing. So I'm going so fast, and I just send this jump in the finals, like just send it like off the top of the lip, just forget to do the jump thing. And I just remember seeing like where the landing starts, and I'm still just going up. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so fucked. But I'm like, I'm gonna just stomp it. Like I'm dropping out like a 60-story building, or maybe 6 stories. But and I'm just like flailing. And then this other American comes underneath me that actually did do the jump properly. And I was like, I don't even care. Like, and I'm going to land on the finish line. Like this thing, I probably jumped like 150 feet, dude. I jumped so far. And I'm just like, oh, I'm going to stomp it. And I landed right before the finish line. And as soon as I landed, I just exploded, but like tried with all my might to fucking stomp it. And he just slid by me and passed me by 1 inch, dude. Damn. 1 inch photo finish, and my Olympic run was over. So I'm hoping to go back if I get the opportunity. I got to find out the legalities of my travels and all that, but it'll be fun to see if I can pull it together and go to Italy.
So real quick, going back to being an avid racer. In the past, we've done a couple foot races here. I'm not sure, how we're feeling about that, but Chris has been known to race.
Okay.
I think I'd love to see you two in a little foot race.
You were throwing your hat in the mix.
I mean, I'll get in there.
You're putting my hat in there?
Well, you're the racer.
You guys can both
You're the
do it. I'll
racer.
film it.
I mean, if you want to get cooked, I'll get in there.
I feel like Danny,
because I got
you have the slides on?
I got this. I got the slides on.
Let's do it.
Should we hop up, do a foot race, come sit back down?
Yeah, let's do a little foot race.
Real quick.
I might pull a groin, but I'm ready to go.
Let's go.
This is gonna happen. I brought my running shoes.
I saw the dream.
Yep, saw it in the dream, man.
I used to run a little track and field back in the day. No big deal.
I like how just no warm up, sitting down, 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, my knee's fucked, dude. My knee, dude. But I don't know. I haven't run in like years.
Yeah, dude, I haven't sprinted in so long.
Racers ready. Ready. On your mark, get set, go.
Danny, go!
Damn, that hurt my knee. Fuck. I haven't
Still got it.
Good job, you did it.
Danny, I didn't know you had it like that. I didn't know you had it like that.
Daniel's ass.
Still the champ, baby.
Awesome.
All right, for the listeners here, Trevor,
I'm riding high.
Yeah. Danny,
Got me, dude.
Silk, maybe why don't you walk us through what happened out there, Silk?
Well, everyone had to change shoes first. So that was pretty exciting.
Yep.
You know, Trevor's coming off some injuries here. Danny's feeling a little fresh. You know, took the slides off, got some shoes on. Danny had a pretty quick start. We're gonna.
Would you
review the
describe it
footage.
as explosive?
Yeah, I think I would.
All the doubters out there.
Yeah, pretty.
Got me.
Pretty
You got me.
explosive.
You got me.
Danny
No
took home
excuses.
the W.
You got it.
Wow, that was exciting.
That was fun.
Good to get the heart rate up when we've been sitting for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go back to border cross for a hot second here. I heard you had a hard time finding boards for a minute.
Yeah. It was weird. Like I was trying to figure out who to even get them from, and then I like bought other people's, old snowboards.
Well, to be specific, maybe for the listeners who don't know, like a border cross board, a race board's very specific.
Yeah, it's like
not
this,
very fun for anything else.
No, it's like this, super solid. I think it's like mostly steel, honestly, or like some type of metal. It's like super just rigid and just, yeah. But then I ended up meeting this guy in Austria that has a company. He actually made me a 206 centimeter snowboard because I was going to break the speed record. And he built me that, but I still have it. It's like 2 border cross boards.
Oh, shit.
Not 2, but anyway, yeah, that's a whole other thing. I think they got border cross boards pretty dialed now, but
I thought Palmer sent you boards.
no.
Oh, that's false information?
Well, Palmer, so at the World Cup that I won, Palmer was there, and none of my luggage showed up. So he let me borrow his extra there.
Damn. The one that you won. You were on Palmer's board.
No,
different one.
So all the practice, all the warm up was all on his stuff, and then the morning of the race, my stuff showed up. So
pretty legendary, though.
Yeah, it was cool. Like spending some time with Palmer. The guy's a wild man.
That's legendary.
Yeah,
I love it. I got a random question. I'm going to derail this whole thing, but I remember I was following you on Instagram, your journey over the years, and at one point I remember you were getting all your ink from your tattoos removed. What's that all about?
Yeah. I had a full sleeve, and then I had some tattoos on my feet and my back, and I just got. I mean, I'm a pretty like obsessive person. Like if I have like a goal in mind, or I'm like I need to like stay busy and be pointing my energy towards positive things. But I was kind of at this point. I think I was injured or something, and I just would like look at my arm, and I'm just like, I feel like that could have been done differently. I'm just like I'm like OCD style, like that doesn't really look that good, and I just started to obsess over that. I mean, if you really want the real truth, which I'll give to you, I was like, and then I was just sitting in my brother's truck one day, and I started just friction burning off the tattoos on my foot with a rock.
Oh shit!
And he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I just want to see if it'll work." Foot ended up getting super infected, but the tattoos are gone. I almost lost my foot.
But the tattoo is gone.
Mission accomplished. Okay.
But then I started doing laser removal when I've been at it like 5 years. I was just like, kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to want this when I'm 40 or whatever, and I better start now. And yeah, it's almost there. Got a few sessions left.
I've heard it's super painful.
Yeah, actually, the one on so I was going to this guy that was just like this kind of just, like not sketchy, but didn't really give a shit. And he's like some dermatologist or something. And he would just like, come on in. And he just blast, like, just like get at it. And I'd just be like, oh, like, excruciating. The one on my back and my foot, but I would be like, keep going. I would film it. I'm like, don't stop. I passed out from my back. Because he would just like, no, like we can only do one at a time. I'm like, no, just keep going. Because like I would drive super far to get there. And I did pass out. And I like wake up in his doctor's office. I'm like, oh shit, keep going. So I went to him for like a year and a half. And then it sucked. Like it sucked super bad, but I just handle it. Then I find this new place, like greeted in the waiting room by like these beautiful girls there. And then, and they're like, oh, like, come on in here, Mr. Jacob. Like, we're going to give you the numbing cream and all. I'm like, numbing cream? What? So they're like, okay. So like, I'm just sitting there like drinking a freaking Sprite, like just like, this is painless.
This is awesome.
So let's just say I started going there instead. It was a little more expensive, but it was worth it because I was getting tired of excruciating pain. But yeah, that's the tattoo removal journey.
Dude, you were out of your gourd.
You ever change your mind on doing tattoos? So you want to go back?
Anyway, if you're young, I hear kids like, oh, I want to get this like tattoo, and they're like 16 or whatever. And I'm like, I was that kid. I got tattoos at 17 and just went all out. 18. Just wait, like, I mean, or don't, but like, look at me, I got covered and I started, and that's all that scarring's from hydrochloric acid. I started to test it on myself. And actually, what's crazy about the tattoo stuff, I would go into a sauna and I would grab like sandpaper or like these really, like that loofah scrub stuff. And I would just start sweating and like scrubbing the old dead skin off. And all this black skin, like this dark skin would come from the ink of the tattoos, but it's super deep. But I don't really know how that works, but I like to think it helped. But
got a couple layers.
That's another option. That's another option.
No, it's not gonna be the option, but it may help.
Yeah. Wow, we're getting a lot of good intel on this. But also, you'd think that a wild man like yourself would be out just deleting cans, getting shithoused on a regular basis. But I just found out you're 10 years no alcohol.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, I've never had a problem, but I was introduced to alcohol and partying at a very young age. Like I was on these trips and in these environments with some wild people, I would go to like the team challenge, you remember?
Oh, yeah.
and like, I'm like 12, like literally 12 years old, watching the craziest partying ever. And I'm just like damn. But anyway, I was like, I mean, I don't want to, maybe I shouldn't say names, but like some of the days in Mammoth from my time from like 13 to 15, there was individuals who may be watching this that, you know, like I just want to leave a little bit of privacy. There is some wild times that definitely like catered to me finding, and then sponsors, you know, like when we were talking about the Nike days, I mean, allegedly, I would just say, because I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but like I'm like 13, 14 with Nike money going on these Nike trips where we would just have like the run of the world, like literally like have, you know, some huge mansion in the mountains or be in the Portland headquarters and they'd rent out a whole hotel and it was like everything's taken care of. We're ordering like, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars of room service and just like throwing it off the balcony, you know, just like drunk, and they're giving us the alcohol, you know, like here, like take these bottles of vodka, like just, you know, like damn, looking back, it's like these guys didn't give a fuck. And that's like pump them and dump them mentality. I mean, I don't want to, you know, like I said, hate on anybody, but it was like crazy to look back on and be like, I sure as hell wouldn't be treating a 13-year-old like that. And that should be, you know, like a little bit of a, but I did stop drinking when I turned 21. I was just like, I didn't have a problem. I just got into these situations where I was like, I don't like this. I don't like waking up like this. I don't like how I'm acting. Like I'm just pretty reckless as it is, as far as, you know, like alcohol just adds another component to it. And I've definitely been exposed to some situations that could have turned out a lot worse and a lot more permanent. And I'm just like, okay, like I'm just going to cut that out of my life completely. And then I just stopped and I was like, I'm just going to go 5 years. Basically woke up at the World Championships in Austria for border cross, drunk and like missed, like just lost or whatever. Was just like on the floor with some girl, honestly. And I was just like,
hell yeah,
I'm done. I'm done. Like I'm going to go 5 years, no drinking and just see who I become. Yeah. And 5 years came up and I was just like, I don't need this in my life anymore. So, I mean, you know, I'm not here to like tell everyone to quit drinking alcohol, but I've never seen it do anything positive for anybody. And I don't think it has any value. I mean, like if you can like, you know, casually drink and have a beer with your buddies or whatever, it's fine. But if you have a problem, like there's no upside. Like long term, you're fucked. So, and I've seen it so many times with so many people. They're just like, it's just not for me. And yeah.
I'm in the same boat as you and not drinking for a long time, but the only upside I'd say is like there's definitely like camaraderie formed when people go out and have a good time. Sometimes there's experiences, shared experiences would maybe be the only upside to shoot holes in it.
Sure.
However, I'm with you on, I agree with everything you're saying 100%.
And then just to argue that, I'm not disagreeing with that. It's like the yin and the yang of that is like, well, the next day you wake up, you feel like shit and you're like, oh, that moment's over. And it was like, you're going to feel the opposite of that inevitably, you know.
What goes up must come down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And psychologically and chemically, you know, that imbalance. But I'm not saying like don't go have fun. Like let's live, you know. Let's go.
That brings me to another question, and it ties back to the Patreon question earlier. There's these videos when I found doing my research, these GKC Fest videos, which looks like a out of hand, reckless party. I assumed you actually drank because just watching these, it looks like everybody's getting loose, having a good time. It's a mixture of like Burning Man and CKY, basically. And in one of the videos, there's just a Cadillac that gets flipped over, windows smashed, maybe burned. I don't know. Walk us through that.
Yeah. So I started that when I was 18. Like I said, a lot of these things come with like relatively a kid with a lot of freedom and way too much money, and he doesn't really value it, and he just kind of like, I mean, I did, but also was just sending it, and I had kind of this rebel mindset of like, I saw the conforming that I felt like I was trapped in this identity of like being this person that has to be the next thing and, you know, win all the contests and be like that guy. And then like I said, the injuries and the whole thing just kind of spiraled, and I just went opposite for a while. And I was just like, I'm just gonna just send, and I did. And that was like the GKC Fest was just, all right, I'm gonna see if I can just put together these parties that people can just get loose. But yeah, I was sober for like maybe the first one ever I was drinking at, and then I was like, I can't drink at these because it's way too loose. And it was like I basically owned 20 acres and would just have everybody out come to my house and, you know, invite your friends, like bring this, let's just, you know, like have, call friends with helicopters and call skydivers and call dirt bikers and call BMXers and pro skaters and like everybody just come to my house for this weekend and just let's just let loose, just let loose. And I'm like the guardian, right? I'm like, send it harder, So there was like definitely a lot of crazy close calls and just anarchy, and it could have been so many things could have happened there that luckily didn't. Like it was like, but yeah, it was just trying to have a good time every year, and it just kept escalating. And then I got some other property to like just cater to this thing, and the real estate guy ended up selling me like the wrong land. It was like this whole thing. But the burnt Cadillac was a friend who I forgot about this. This guy, my friend Brendan bought this car for his wife, and then like she cheated on him, and it was still technically his, but he took it back from her. So it was her car, but they got divorced because she cheated. And so he took the car back and drove it to my house and was like, the end of this car is now. And then like midway through the party, everyone's drinking and whatever. And I got the attention of like, a couple hundred people. And I was just like, I stood on top of this quarter pipe because I built a skate park up against my house and all this stuff. And I stood on top of the skate park and I was like, everybody. I told the story. I'm like, that's Brendan's car. That's Brendan's ex-wife's car. And she cheated on him. And she's a fucking bitch. So let's light that thing on fire and let's burn it to the ground. And then all of a sudden, dude, like it felt like just a mob was just like, yes. And they all just stormed the Cadillac and just started just destroying the thing. And it was like, next thing is upside down on fire. And
then there was people there was upside down and there was plywood on top. People are jumping on and off it on motorcycles. And
yeah, I mean,
on fire is fantastic.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like... that was like, it kept escalating, and every year that went by, I seemed to mature a little bit more, and I'm like, all right, like, this is not going to turn into, like, an actual music festival or anything. I just don't want to do that, and like, this is going to end at some point. I'm just going to end it early, because I feel like something is going to happen that's just going to be not good, and so one year I was just like, nah, this is done. It was just too much, and I'm, it was fun, and it was like a chapter of my life that I think, a lot of people take a lot of memories from, that had a lot of fun. But it was just time to move on.
Well, so I was so curious. I've always wondered the house where you did this with the skate park and the property.
Yeah.
Where the hell is that?
It's in Paso Robles, California. So, through another friend that was actually the neighbor that I met through skateboarding, he was like, hey, my, neighbor's house is for sale. And then I, jumped, like Paso Robles is in the middle of nowhere, but I actually sold it. Luckily, it was like on the market for a while. And then I sold it to this roller skater who was like, wait, what? Like the one person who had the money because everybody else was going to buy it and just tear out the concrete. There's a skate park's on the house. And then this lady was like, not lady, girl, we're friends. And she was like, I'll buy it. And, she sent it. So it's still there. They added a vert ramp to the backyard. Like the whole thing's fitted out where people can come stay on different houses on the property and stuff. It's cool. So for me to I put a lot of effort into that place, had a foam pit and different ramps and all this stuff. So to not watch that be taken down and to have somebody carry on that legacy, and she has summer camps and kids go learn there and skate there, which is always what I wanted to do with it. And it's happening. It was like, regardless if I'm involved or not, like it's still happening, and that makes me happy. So cool. It's still going.
I love that. Well, it's we're gonna change gears to a special part of the show. Silk, you got any idea where we're going?
Feel like it might be time for Name That Video part. Well, hold on, guys. Before we get into Name That Video part, we actually have a presenting sponsor, Turtlebox. They're back delivering the best sounding, most durable portable speakers available. And I actually have the Gen 2 portable speaker right here. We got the white one. And just look at this thing. It's beautiful. We got the Bomb Hole logo on the back. And you might not be able to get the Bomb Hole logo on yours, but you actually can customize it. I was checking out their website. They got tons of colors. You can customize the front and the back and the handle to make yours look unique. Turtlebox Gen 2 portable speaker is 100% waterproof and boasts best-in-class audio quality. It's got over 20 hours of playtime. That is nearly the entire day. As a plus, you can pair multiple Turtlebox speakers together at the same time for a true A/B surround sound audio experience. Simply put, the Turtlebox is an extremely fun product designed for days on the mountain, on the water, in the backyard, and everywhere in between. So definitely go check out Turtlebox. Get your eyes on the Gen 2 portable speaker, and let's get into name that video part.
All right, how's your confidence level 0 through 10?
Man, I haven't watched videos in a long time, but I would just say unknown. I would say maybe a 5 because
Okay, 5. I like that. Kind of rare. People don't choose 5 that much.
Yeah, not common.
This is also potentially your first smelling salt.
Oh, yeah. He's never done a smelling salt, too.
Nope.
Let's hit that to warm up the brain first.
Oh, shit.
I mean, these aren't really correlated activities, but they can be. Here you go.
So I just smell it?
Yeah.
You're going to crack it?
Here, I'll give you pinch it first, and then it'll turn red. See that? And then you just ease it up to your nose. Okay, there he is. All right. He's in.
I was like I was hoping for like a subtle one.
Yeah.
I just felt like I got sprayed with pepper spray or something.
Again, they are available, bombhole.com. If you want to feel like a pepper
That's
spray.
good. It kind of I feel like that'd be good when you're like, have the flu or you're sick or stuffed up.
Yeah,
Just
stuffed
like,
up.
yeah, immediately like,
Yeah. We're back.
we're back.
All right. Here we go. Let's see how you do.
Okay. Come on. Bjorn Linus, stand and deliver.
Oh, I'm going to give you, it is
Wait,
a Mac Dog,
wait,
and it is Bjorn.
wait.
You got 2 correct.
I'm saying the wrong name. It's not stand deliver. It's
It is it's a Mac Dog production, but it's kind of a gray area because it's
hold on. I'm gonna be really upset with myself. It's it's not amp. It's not stand deliver. And you just gave me that damn salt thing, so now I feel like I'm a little out of it.
It's weird because it's a Mac Dog, but it's a brand video.
Because as soon as it's a what?
It's a Mac Dog video, but it's also a brand video.
Oh, brand. True Life.
That's True Life.
Man.
You knew it though because you said it with so much conviction.
As soon as
yeah, I'm giving that to him.
Yep, I'm counting it.
Bjorn Linus, it is a standard.
As soon as
Mac Dog.
I just had stand deliver on my mind because I was thinking about. Anyway, yes, True Life, Bjorn Linus, and then I have the first image is him getting stuck in the fence.
He's
and the
got
thing,
it.
And
He knows it.
Boom!
He
Hits
knows
his face.
it. Congratulations.
Man, and then thank you.
Hey, give him his prize back. Who's got it? Silky on
got
that.
it.
Silky, your influencer
and
lady.
then he's like, a couple of months on the couch, first day back,
Yep.
and then boom, and then again.
He knows it.
Yeah. And
I just want to let you know, Trevor, your credibility's skyrocketing by knowing that.
man,
So, nice work.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was definitely like my school books was the Creatures of Habit films and Mac Dog films was like I would just if I wasn't snowboarding, I'm just watching those videos on repeat. VHS days, like just obsessed. That was we were just talking outside like about the subconscious and about how that like I don't know, like just my love for action sports and my love for that, like that was just what I did. Like all those guys, man, like I could probably and just that is like truly the root of me is like watching every single person that's been on here that is just an idol. Like I'll always. Side note, I walk in to a shop the other day in California called Val Surf, and I walk in. I'm like, just like basically, my brother bought me these swim trunks. Who is want to give a big shout out to my brother. He's the man. Love that dude so much. He's been there for me thick and thin, and he's a massive lover of your show. So. He bought me some swim trunks for my birthday, he was like, I was like, oh, cool, thanks. And then they didn't fit. So I went to, I was like, I was driving by, like, I'll just go get some bigger ones. And I walk in, I'm like, why do you look so familiar? The dude's just standing there, like not the guy at the counter, but like this dude's just standing there. And I'm like, I know you. And he's like, I feel like I know you too. And I just stand there for a second looking at him. I'm like, Kurt Wastel, dude. Kurt Wastel, and he's like, yeah. I'm like, and then there was this he was just sitting there, and then there was this young surfer kid that walked in and was like asking about surfboards, and I was so stoked. I was like, do you understand who you're talking to right now? And he was like, what? No, like this is surfer kid. And I was like, you're in the like the presence of a living legend. and he's like, what? And I'm like, go home and type in Kurt Wasdell snowboarding on YouTube or, Google or whatever. And he's like, okay. I was like, the biggest legend right there. And I was just so pumped, man. It was so cool. I just like the water tower grind.
Oh, yeah.
Like all, just like, I know like JP, Jeremy, like, man, that's like my true childhood is like, if you're like part of that era of snowboarders that 80s, like 90s really for me, that built snowboarding, that built that, kind of foundation in snowboarding. Like, I just want to say thank you. I love you. Like, I definitely know who you are, and I'm so appreciative for just the childhood that you allowed me to have as far as just looking up to your video parts. And I've definitely seen like every single snowboard video 100 times. So
that's fantastic. I love that. We still got part 2 of Name That Video Part. This is for our listeners, not for you, Trevor. So you can sit back and relax.
All right.
If you know the song and the video and the rider, really we just need video and rider name, and comment on the photo of Trevor on Instagram. That's where we pick our winner. And you'll get a sticker that says, I won Name That Video Part, and all I got was this stupid sticker. So good luck. Here we go. Okay. Thank you guys for playing Name That Video Part. Threw him a curveball for this week's Name That Video Part.
Now, do you find yourself slowing down a little bit in your older age, maybe getting off hill a little earlier? Well, you could be dehydrated. 75% of Americans are dehydrated. And that goes up when you're at elevation, when you're in the mountains. So I drink Bubs Hydrate or Die hydration packets. There's 2,000 milligrams of electrolytes. There's no added sugar. There's no artificial flavors. Let me tell you, when I'm hydrated, I ride better. I can ride longer. I have more energy. All in all, my vitality is just better. So if you're interested in picking up some Bubs Naturals Hydrate or Die, head on over to bubsnaturals.com and use promo code BOMBHOLE for 20% off your order. And stay hydrated, people, with Bubs Naturals Hydrate or Die. All right, folks, quick science lesson. Mammoth Mountain is made up of 25 small volcanoes that erupted between 50 and 100,000 years ago. These massive lumps and bumps have created the perfect environment for snowboarding. Cliffs, windlips, chutes, gullies, steeps, cruisers, and just about any type of terrain can be found within 350,000 shreddable acres on Mammoth. But what the Unbound Terrain Park crew brings to the equation with their park creations is truly another level of fun. Let's dive in. We're talking 10 parks, 100 plus pieces of steel, and 40 plus jumps at any given time. New to terrain park riding? Try Wonderland, a beginner rider's best friend with small jumps, ride-on boxes, and creative snow features built on a smaller scale. Are you an intermediate ripper looking to dial in threes and progress a bit more on the metal? Forest Trail is the perfect park for you. Keep an eye out for Todd Richards, big fan of the jump line. I'm also a fan too. Love that jump line. Now, South Park is the spot you'll find advanced features, a long park with incredible flow. There's the Transition Park for those looking to lay it on edge, the Snake Run, playgrounds, hemlocks, and of course, the Big Boss Park main park. We're talking video part-worthy features, progressive jump lines, tech steel, and a slew of snow features that meet the gold standard. Finally, Mammoth has an 11-foot and a 22-foot pipe. Simply put, Mammoth is really, really fun.
Let's keep this train on the rails. Keep this Western Pacific moving.
The Union Pacific.
Union Pacific, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
Allegedly, for legal purposes.
Allegedly.
How'd you get involved with Nitro Circus?
So I met So I met Travis one time at X Games when I was really young, but it was just like getting, super brief passing. Travis Pastrana, I know you've had him on the show. And then Lindsay, his wife, so Lindsay Adams Hawkins, pro skateboarder, then snowboarder. And then, I got to know her. She moved to Mammoth. And so I knew her when I was like, 12, 13. And we, snowboard all the time together. And then she, I don't know, a couple years later, or, shortly thereafter, started dating Travis and seeing Travis. And then she started going on tour with them all around the world. And, this is when the TV show was happening and the world tour and the live tours, and they're going everywhere and performing, in front of 50,000 people every night. And I was watching this online and I'm just like, this is awesome. This is right up my alley. And so I messaged Lindsay and I was like, let me know if you guys ever need my help, because this is, right up my alley. And then on Thanksgiving Eve of like 2011 or 12, I'm like out just adventuring with my brother, and I just keep getting texts on my phone, but I didn't look at it because we were just out on a Polaris Razor, like towing people on sleds around in the snow. And I just kept feeling my phone buzz, but I'm like, whatever. And then I look and I had like so many texts from Lindsay. And then I'm like, she's like, can you be in Europe tomorrow? Like a bunch of our guys got hurt and we need your help. Like, would love if you could come out. And I was like, there in Mammoth with my family, like, celebrating Thanksgiving. We're like, this is, the dream. Like, this is, I'm there. And they're like, we're going to get you a ticket and like, we'll figure everything out. And so I just started driving to LA. Like, I just started driving to the airport, no ticket, no nothing. I was just like, this is going to happen. And then as I showed up to LA, she like sends me the flight confirmation, and like a couple hours later I'm on a plane to Austria. And then the next day it's like opposite time zones. I'm standing at the top of a mega ramp with Travis and Lindsay, and they're like sending me down it on a tricycle. And I'm like, all right, this is my introduction. And then, I stayed there. I got to travel to like 15 different countries in the span of a month, all through Europe. And then I got to go to New Zealand with them and Australia, and taken, all over the world. And then that just kind of steamrolled into getting into all types of shenanigans with Travis and Lindsay. Yeah.
What was your relationship like with Travis?
I mean, just idol. I mean, Travis is just a legend, and I just praise that man to, the highest of regards. He's done so much for me. They both have done so much for me. And, I'm so indebted. I'm so grateful that I've gotten so many life experiences that I wouldn't have never had it not been for them. And, I just so many different experiences. I mean, I literally think of just every, the most epic experiences in every country. You get to go, we're whitewater rafting and then skydiving and then, base jumping, and then we're going here and we're doing this and we're doing that just all the time, just nonstop. And, I'm just so, and then just on the other side of things, like just allowing me to express myself and film video parts for them and film for the show and go on the tour and try to, it was a chapter of my life that was a true childhood dream come true. And, it was like, I'll never, like, I talk to Travis all the time. I'm like, thank you for everything. Like, I'll always just, yeah.
You guys both seem like you're wired the same.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, like Travis, like, I'm like, dude, like, he's trying to tell me sometimes, like, hold on, we were on his roof. I skateboarded off his roof into his pool, and he's trying to talk me out of it. And like, it was definitely like a combo that's pretty dangerous. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the clip of me jumping on the back of the Razor.
Yeah,
like
viral. Yeah,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
insane.
That's
You got a
awesome
cowboy
clip.
hat on?
Yeah. So it was like I actually from that clip got like Google found me through that, and I was out like Apple, like all these like people like wanted that clip, and they ended up like hiring me to do like things for their executives. It was like crazy just from that one clip. Yeah, but he's like, just so you know, I came up with the idea because I still needed more footage for Action Figures, the movie. And I was like, let's do this jump. And they set up this jump. It was like 120 feet or something. And I was like, I'll hang on to the back. And then Travis is like, because basically the ramp is super skinny and you have 6 inches on each side. And he's going like 70 miles an hour through the trees to get speed for it. And he's just jumping it by himself. And I was like, let me hang on to the back. And he's like, oh, I don't know. He's like, it's super dicey for me driving. I was like, we got this, you know? He's like, just so you know, there's not, like, I'm surrounded by professional drivers every day. And he goes, there's not one person on this planet I would trust driving me off this jump. It's just so sketchy. And I was like, well, I guess, like, if there was one person for me, it'd be you. So let's do it. And he's like, go get a helmet. Come back with a helmet. And I came back with a skateboard helmet on. And he's like, that's not going to do shit. Like, if you put the cowboy hat back on, if you're going to. So we ended up jumping that thing like probably 10 times before we actually, because I kept kind of getting scared to do the Indian Air thing, the Superman. And then finally I got it. And yeah, it was good times. But he, you know, also like the tree kick thing, you know, the dirt bike tree kick thing.
Also insane.
Yeah, he, so that jump was set up for them to do a triple backflip, which Josh Sheehan ended up doing a triple backflip on. And then it was actually where Travis started trying the double backflip 360, which was like the craziest moment ever. I was so grateful for that. But I was standing there and I'm looking at it, and Travis and I are just staring at it because we're still trying to figure out like the angle of it. This is the early days because they spent, you know, over a year just perfecting that jump. And this was in the early days of that jump. And I'm like, I feel like, I mean, Travis brought out like 3 of the best dirt bikers in the world to just like session this jump to try to get a triple done. And I'm standing there, you know, I'm not like pro motocross guy, but I'll ride a dirt bike, and I can ride a dirt bike really well. Like I can keep up with those guys, let's say like, you know, riding trails or, you know, ripping some stuff, but like not on the freestyle level, not on like some supercross level. But I'm like, I bet I'd hit that thing if it came down to it, because we're all sitting there and I'm like, if it came down to it, like I hit it. And they look at me and they're like, no one had hit it yet, and they're all scared too. And I'm like, oh shit, like maybe I shouldn't have said that. So then I go on to try to do this skateboard bike transfer thing. I get concussed in his backyard, and I'm like all dazed. And I come back, I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm just gonna like take it easy and go watch this session because they're about to session the triple backflip jump. And I walk back there, and they have the session, and everything gets, you know, they're doing it and into the airbag. And then Travis looks at me, he's like, Trevor, if you're gonna do it, you should do it now because we're gonna start tearing this thing down. And I was like concussed. I'm like, no one knew I was concussed. I just was like, I hit my head really hard. And I'm like, all right. So I go back to the shop and put on, you know, some body armor and some dirt bike stuff. And I just come around the back, and Travis is shaking because he's like, all right, like I'm put this snowboard dude on a freaking dirt bike and just send it off the biggest dirt bike jump to ever exist. And I could tell he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, I got it. I think I got it. But this dirt bike that I was on is like pretty clapped out, and the suspension was kind of jacked. And these guys, best dirt bikers in the whole world, right? They don't tell me that the jump, they know how to like counteract just little things. Like if I'm snowboarding or you're snowboarding and you see like that a lip is kind of sideways, you know, you're gonna notice, but you can counteract to kind of not make a big deal of it. But if it's your first time snowboarding and you're hitting an 80-foot jump or a 100-foot jump and the lip's crooked, you're just gonna go off crooked. And so that's what happened. The lip was like a little slanted.
You G'd out too.
Yeah, but
like your suspension like compressed.
It compressed, but at the same time, the ramp was a little tilted sideways, and you can't really see that from the footage, but it was like a little sideways. So these guys, keep in mind, and so gnarly, doing freaking triple backflips on you just couldn't get it centered. It was like that ramp is huge. So just to do little corrections was like the biggest deal. But I just sent it, and it was crooked, so I just went off to the right.
And you're concussed.
Yeah, and I'm concussed. And I just launched into it felt like going in a rocket. Like I was going and said, all right, just come through the trees. Travis and I was back there. The filmer's ready. Like the drones are up and everything. And he's like, are you good? And I'm like, I think I'm good. And he's like, just send it over the river.
What gear were you in? Third wide?
That's the thing.
Third wide?
This is like a little suicidal in a way where he goes, just get it in third and just pin it. But I hit and I'm on a 2-stroke. I come around the corner, I jump this little river thing, and I'm in second, and then I'm like, all right, as soon as I jump the river, I'm gonna click third and just pin it. I never thought I clicked third, but I was in second and I was already committed, and I was just like, fuck it. But
also your bike's gonna be way more pissed off going up the face and not as calm.
Yeah, but I ended up being in third because those guys were like, if you were in second, you would have never made it.
Yeah.
But I was in third. Luckily, I didn't think I was, but I just and from 1 second to the next, I'm just floating. like for somebody that's not used to, like just to talk to the audience that somebody's not used to dirt bikes or whatever, like all of a sudden I'm just looking at this jump, and then the next thing I'm just like in the air, just floating like 100 feet in the air. And then I'm like, oh shit, there goes the airbag, there goes the ground. Oh, and then I see this tree, and when you're in life or death, fight or flight situations, like everything slows down so fast, or if that makes sense. And I see this tree coming, and I'm like, all right, grab the tree, hug the tree. I'm gonna miss the airbag. No, you're gonna try to grab the tree, and you're gonna bounce off. You're not gonna be able to hold the tree. And then I'm like, oh shit, I better start trying to swim to the airbag. Oh, maybe you can kick the tree. And so as soon as I saw the tree, I'm like, I just stretched my right foot out as far as I could and just got like a little bit of oomph, and it fully retrajected me, because I'm still kind of sad. Like the footage does, people are like, oh, he would have hit the airbag either way. There's no way, dude. And I was really not upset, but like you can't really. I wish I had a GoPro on. I just didn't. I was going for this little like crevice in the trees, and then I just clipped the corner of the airbag, which, I mean, it probably saved my life. It definitely saved serious injury. And yeah, like
your bike didn't even go anywhere near the airbag.
No, and the
hard right.
Crazy story is Travis ended up letting me keep that bike, and I was so like brought it home, and then my brother's house burned down. It was my brother's house, so I lost the dirt bike.
Damn it!
And I told Travis that. He's like, "Fuck." But
so, all right, you survived this near-death experience, this knee DE. Obviously, one of the most viral clips. Everybody's seen it. Yeah. It's psychotic. What'd you do right after?
Like after that, like right then. So I remember there was, Josh Sehan and Thomas Pages and Travis and Lindsay and, Travis's trainer, Todd, and like Greg Godfrey, like all these, just, it was like the scene, right there in the backyard. And everyone just came and just like hugged me. And it's just like, you're alive. Like, you're alive. And it was just like this crazy moment. That was pretty early on for me spending time with those guys. And I was like, oh, it was like kind of my introduction. Like, all right, like they were like, oh, he's one of us now, And I was, and then we just, went and grabbed dinner or whatever. And I just was like, I sent the video to my mom, and she's just like, why? like that's not you, is it? Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus. Is your mom all right?
Yeah, my mom and my dad, like they're tough cookies. Like my dad's pretty, like understanding, and I mean they both are very understanding, but my dad's more of like a dude. Yeah. My mom has been through so much, and she's so strong, and I freaking love her so much. And my whole family, like my dad, my mom, my brother, they're just the best, and we're super close. And I've put them through a lot, not wanting to, but a lot of sleepless nights. Whether it's on these trips or like just not knowing outcomes of things. And yeah, my mom is just is my rock. She's awesome.
Did your brother also inherit the steel nuts, or is that just you?
My brother's badass. He's awesome, and he's super into all of action sports. He just doesn't have that like gene that just seems to just like kind of just go off on some crazy shit every once in a while. He's more like cool and collected, and just like, I'm gonna think twice about that, where I'm like, oh, like what happens if you put the fork in the light socket? Like he'll like ask questions, and I'll just do it.
Again, I want to get rid of a tattoo. You just start scrubbing in a sauna. It will go away with some sandpaper.
At some point, it will go away.
It will go away.
No, the funny thing about the rock thing, when I was, he's like, don't do that. Like, why are you doing that? And then I didn't realize, like a week later, it started. So with a friction burn, it's like it burns from the inside out, I guess. So all of a sudden, my foot is just like guts are like coming out. And my friend that's a paramedic is like, you're gonna lose your foot. And I was skydiving, and the scab was on the crease of my ankle, and he was like, what? It kept, every time I would walk, it would break the scab. Oh. So my socks are just bloody all the time. And he's like, let me see your foot. And he's just like oozing. And anyway, like I was like, yeah, it was super stupid. But like he would be like, yeah.
So anyway, let's go back to backflips for a second.
Yeah.
Backflip to snowmobile.
Yep.
Snowboard.
Yep.
What else?
Dirt bike, rollerblades, skis, skateboard, double backflip. And what else? I've done a tricycle. I've done, I mean, there's other ones, but I just can't remember. Oh, wakeboard, couch. I never backflipped the couch, but I did.
Wait, what's that story?
So there's a mega ramp in Nitro Circus, and then we have a couch that is basically there's a razor scooter with 4 wheels and then a front wheel, so 5 wheels. And it's basically, so to look at the crowd is like, oh, this guy's gonna drop into the mega ramp on a lazy boy couch, which it is. And so you're sitting up there on this massive roll-in, and then you're jumping a 70-foot gap. I mean, there's a photo, a video somewhere, and a bunch of us have done it. But, you know, it's like terrifying. You're like up there, and 50,000 people are watching you send a couch through the air. You're just like, and you're steering with the bars are under your butt. So you're like steering like this. And honestly, I got speed wobbles in this thing, and I almost launched into the crowd. It's like, it's like,
what a souvenir that would have been.
Yeah, but So I know there's others like, but I just can't think of them. But just lots of backflips.
Yeah. So with these guys on tour, like what was the draw to the skydiving situation? Because that's not my can of worms particularly.
Yeah. I've always just been fascinated with flight and aviation and skydiving and parachutes since I was a little kid. And I just find it, I mean, just paragliding, you know, like paramotoring, flying planes. Like I've just always been obsessed. I mean, like when you're a kid, you make paper airplanes, and it's just always been like a draw to me. And I just feel so free in the sky, and it just turned into a habit that it's just a lot of fun. And I've gotten some incredible experiences from that. I've unfortunately there've been a lot of bad experiences too. My best friend Johnny died wingsuit base jumping. My cousin has also died wingsuit base jumping, and I've lost other friends to the sport. So it definitely comes with risk, and there's not a big tolerance for mistakes. And like even the littlest thing, like you could do everything right and it still goes wrong, and you're just in a circumstance that you there's just no room for error. So skydiving is a lot safer than base jumping, and it's but not to say that it's not dangerous. It's just that it's a lot different. You have a lot more time. And I've spent, I have thousands and thousands and thousands of jumps. I stopped counting, but it's just something that I feel at home with.
Yeah, insane. And you guys are doing this while filming for the Action Figures movie, and that video seemed like the stakes were pretty high. Like the bar was pretty high at that point when you came on. Like everything was fucking gnarly.
Are you talking about just in general, or
film? I guess being a part of filming for that production.
Yeah. The Nitros at that time, the Nitro Circus TV series had finished, and then it was just originally going to be 4 of us that were going to make this like this different style video where it was just going to be myself, Travis, Eric Roner, rest in peace, Eric, and then Crumb, who actually lives out here. It was like Travis was like, all right, the opening scene is going to be us driving a limo with the top cut off into the Grand Canyon, and we're all going to pull parachutes. Like that was going to be the opening scene, and then we were just going to make the most jam-packed video of all time, like just the most. And then it turned more into like, no, we need to have more people involved, and it just turned into like Travis basically getting every single person at the gnarliest caliber together to try to just make just the most jam-packed, intense, diverse video. And, I think that there was some clips. I think, I could have, some of me is like, I could have done a little bit better with certain things, but then others I'm like, yeah, I'm like happy that made it in there. But it was just, yeah, dude, Travis is gnarly, and to, stay on that level of action, and to have somebody like that as a mentor, it's like you got to step up. There's no bullshit. There's no like, oh, I'm gonna not like, if you say you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it. And it's not like a peer pressure thing. It's just like, then go do something else. Like you came here to push action sports. You came here to be the best version of yourself and push yourself, and either do that or don't, but don't just lollygag around. So that it's like the bar is set really high, and you know, when you're around that type of environment, it's extremely dangerous, but it's also extremely exciting, extremely fun. And, you know, if you play like we like to play, of course it's going to come with risk, but it's also going to come with reward.
I think about it like this too, like that rubbing off on you and everything that you did. And you look at, okay, if you were to look at the plane situation that happened most recently, you'd be like, yeah, that was really fucking dumb, dude. Like, not a smart move. Why would you do that? Plane could have crashed into somebody. Like, you could obviously shoot holes in why it's a bad idea in hindsight. But the thing that I admire about you and Travis, and I think a lot of your success comes from, is that you get excited about ideas, however wild, however eccentric, however nuts they are, and you just fucking do them. And I think that seems like to be a constant in your life. I'm going to jump the fucking train. I'm going to do some crazy shit with Travis on the back of a Razor. I'm going to hit this dirt bike ramp in third gear wide and fucking kick off a tree. But all those things, it just seems like you just get excited about shit and just do them. Am I wrong about that?
No, and I mean, no, you're 100% correct. And it also, a lot of it happens organically where, like I was talking about the subconscious, it just seems like you become a product of your environment. You know, there's the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around most, or you are what you think about. And I mean, yeah, I mean, we're just catered to like an exciting, adventurous type of lifestyle. So then all of a sudden you get certain people together and, you know, like a conversation starts about something, or, you know, something gets drawn on a napkin, and then it's like, oh, well, what happened? You know, how this, it's just creative thinking into some outcome that, you know, is exciting or compelling or just like sounds like an adventure. And yeah, I mean, and a lot of those things come about. Like I said, the plane situation was like, yeah, we've talked about it, whatever. But then it started to just unfold. Like more conversations were happening about it. The plane fell into my lap. Like this plane was like going on in a divorce settlement, and I got it super cheap, and the person was like trying to like give it to me like for free basically. And then it was like just people were there to, it was just, I don't know, there's just the whole thing just kind of, you know, there's obviously we make mistakes and things don't go as planned, but you know, like,
at that point, you're like, I'm not going to crash this plane. Like,
well, there was a lot put into it that people don't understand. Like, you know, I'm like, if and I said this to the judge, like I told the truth, like I have nothing to hide from anybody. I told a federal judge the absolute truth. And, the reality is that I put a lot of my time into making sure that this happened with no real bad repercussions to anybody else but myself. I wanted to make sure that the only risk was on myself. And I made sure of that. Now, does that mean it's okay? No. Does that mean that the, you know, audience will approve or the world will approve of what happened? No. But it means that me personally, with my experience and my mind and my stunt experience or whatever, figured out a way that I was certain that there was nobody in that area that was not going to start a fire, because if somebody was injured or I started a forest fire and a bunch of animals died, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I just wouldn't. Like, I know who, I was just like, okay, so your stakes, your risk level, yeah, I get the chills just talking because I mean this, that I know what's at stake here. Not necessarily legally, but nature-wise. What is nature, like God, like what, you know, what if somebody was harmed from this? So I knew that I had that risk with me. So yeah, I did have fire extinguishers strapped to my legs. Yeah, I did drain all the fuel, cut all the electrical lines, made sure that there was not one piece of trash left in those mountains, because I grew up volunteering with the Forest Service in Mammoth, cleaning up from the assholes that left their trash vacationing. So I, you know, for the 1 week that plane was there in that mountain, I couldn't sleep every night knowing like you left that plane there. So I wanted to do the right thing morally. Now, whether that is fair or makes sense legally, no. But I just, you know, from my experience, wanted to make sure that it all went as planned and nobody else was harmed. Now, you know, Mother Nature covered me head to toe in poison oak, every nook and cranny of my body for 3 months. I wanted to be sedated. It was the worst. Like I said, I've had all types of surgeries and broken bones, and that was hell, like literal hell. And, you know, you live and learn.
Cool. Yeah, it's got to be wild too. I feel as though, you know, on a very small level, I've seen the internet turn. You know, I've seen when the internet turns on you, it's like this angry mob mentality of everybody jumping on somebody's backs, man. It's fucking nuts.
Dude.
How was it being the victim of, or I don't know if I want to use that word, but just having an angry mob coming after
Well, man, I wouldn't be surprised if the aviation experts get a hold of you on this podcast, dude. Yeah. I mean, I'm serious, man. I didn't even know that there was like such a aviation like tight knit community that all just decided to hate me. I didn't even know that was like a thing. But you know, it was fascinating. I just learned to like, whoa. I mean, if there's people out there that are gonna get upset over something, they'll find anything to get upset over. And you know, let me put it this way: like, I didn't post that video maybe for a month or two after I actually did it. Nobody knew. Nobody cared. Nothing. But as soon as you get people to have an opinion online about something you do, it's action and reaction. And yeah, I mean, not one time has somebody come up to me and said something mean or evil or like hatred like towards me at all. Everyone's like, even pilots, man. I was on a freaking plane to my brother's wedding in Wyoming, and I'm sitting waiting for the bathroom, middle of the flight, and the flight attendant goes, "Did you forget your parachute? Where's your parachute?" And she recognized me, and I was like, "Oh." And then the other flight attendant comes over, and they're talking, and she's like, "Remember the guy that jumped out of the plane?" And he goes, "Yeah, that asshole's in prison." And I was like, "Oh, not anymore." Like, but or there's like, you know, some young kid or who, like, people like pilots will just come up to me like in a restaurant or whatever. They're like, "Can I get a selfie with you, man? Like, you're a legend." Like, but online it's like, you deserve like hell, and like we hate you, and like go die. And I hate, you know, like it's crazy. It's like, man, like you know, I meant no harm in anyone, and I apologize if I hurt your feelings, but I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. So.
Yeah. And the internet's not a real place anyway. So.
No, and I mean that's a big thing, and I think that, you know, you guys could also take this as a lesson, maybe, as far as, you know, no one's gonna like everything that you do, and there's always gonna be critics and haters and people that, you know, like have something negative to say or they don't approve or whatever. And I mean, you're not gonna please everyone, and like that says, like you can't please everyone, and you just stick to your guns and be you, and don't, you know, harm others. And like, if somebody has an opinion and they're pushing their negativity on you, that's on them. Yeah. Like, you know, somebody burned me on this like business thing, and I was just like, all right, like it wasn't a big deal, but I'm like, you got to live with that, not me. Like, I'm whatever, I'll move on. I just won't associate with you anymore. But like, you know that wasn't right, and that's on you. So if somebody's out there talking shit and hating on the internet, and they're just like putting out that evil, that's going to come back to them, not you. So whatever.
Good stuff too. I also want to talk about, you know, there's a few people that have done it really well in kind of fearlessly changing gears entirely. You know, like for example, snowboarding. It would be safe for you to stay in the familiar and stay in snowboarding and never see what else is out there, so to speak. So when I look at certain people, like Trevor Andrew comes to mind, where he legendary snowboarder. Then he's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna be a musician." Then he's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna be an artist. I'm gonna start painting Gucci ghosts and everything." Till Gucci either, you know, signs me or sues me, basically is what he said. And like, look at how it's these people that have fearlessly changed whatever their life drastically, and gone out on a whim and bet on themselves. You're one of those people, you know, snowboarder, and then, you know, I would say, I don't know what you'd call the next chapter, Nitro Circus maniac. And then you even did a stint with MMA, but I don't know, do you have any words around that topic?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, for me, I've always, from a young age, I don't know where this got into me, but from a young age, I was just like, I want to experience all that I can in this life. I want to just live a diverse life that, you know, really shows me a hell of a life, you know, and I don't know what that means when I'm thinking about this as a kid, but I'm like, I just want to live an interesting life. And I felt, for me personally, you know, like I love snowboarding and I will be a snowboarder forever. I was just like, I just want to experience something different. I just want to experience something new that I can kind of try to like almost climb a different mountain in a way. And that just took form through my passions, and I just wanted to follow what I love to do. So if I was passionate about, dirt bikes and Nitro Circus at the time was like the perfect environment for just this crazy antic stuff, and I get the opportunity to do that, I want to go do it. And then, like the MMA stuff, like I always was doing jujitsu and MMA stuff from a kid, like just, I'd just go to the gym and do that. And then, the opportunity came up to do pro fights. Like within I had 2 weeks notice to cut 30 pounds and fight a pro fighter. And that was, I did that twice because I felt like I was like, the first fight lasted like 10 seconds. I'm like, that's not a real fight. I got just choked out right away. So I'm like, I got to do this again. Then I got choked out again.
Yeah, but you ate that knee. That clip is awesome. You ate that shit. He caught you clean.
Man, I wish I would I'm just all beat up. I'm like, I wish I would have I would try that again. But
I'm 0-2, but give me one more fight. Give me one more.
But it's just like the bucket list thing. I'm just like, okay, I want to see like the plane thing and then the MMA thing. Like, I want to fight a pro fighter before I die, just cause. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be like the best fighter in the world. I don't think I'm gonna be the best aviation guy in the world. I'm just like, I don't know. I just cater to these different experiences, and I'm curious about different lives and different people's, just different people's lives and how they live those lives. And I'm fascinated with business people. I'm fascinated with, different action sports and different psychologists and spiritualists and all just different things where I'm like, it's maybe not what I want to spend all my time doing, but I have a lot of different passions and interests, and I want to just find out more about that type of life. And that's what I've done.
Curious. You also are, you're the drunk guy that comes up with a wild idea that nobody's ever going to do, but then you go do it, and everybody's out drinking.
I'm sober.
Except for you're sober. But exactly. 100%. So I want to talk about highs and lows for a quick second here. Cause you talk about these peak experiences. You're on tour in stadiums doing Nitro Circus. You've done all kinds of just peak life experiences, jumping out of planes, the whole nine. Then you're in prison for 4.5 months, and they put you in solitary confinement for 7 days, which is what, a 5x10 room or something?
Yeah.
How does that stack up as highs versus lows? How did you get through that?
That's kind of when everything kind of got put into place just mentally. It wasn't like I came crashing down, but I was so raw because, for example, I was just in Wyoming last week on this crazy ranch with these super successful people and flew there privately and I'm just I was in a 5x10 solitary cell 2 months ago, or the contrast that is intense for somebody, and then to have that swing of it's a lot. And then, yeah, exactly. Being in front, you're just traveling the world and being around amazing vibes and having, I'm grateful to say just incredible experiences and beautiful women, just having all the amazing food, these. And I'm not saying this to try to impress anyone or say, I'm just saying when you have a quality of life that can be incredible, and it's not always been incredible. I've had the highs and lows my whole life. And that's honestly where I found meditation and just trying to have an even keel and be a little bit more stable in forms. But it's also weird because I understand that I'm a dopamine and adrenaline addict. I understand that my mind is catered to that. I've read so many books and I've really wanted to understand who I am. And I know it's funny, it's almost like a drug addict where he's he just knows what he can get away with and then he stops. That's for me. It's weird because it's all internal. But I'm all right. I think I can get away with this, or I know I can get away with this. But you gotta kind of stay humble and calm first until you really design it, and then you can just sneak through. And honestly, that's what happened. This plane thing was a huge gamble, and it could have ruined my life. Like I said, I was facing up to potentially 80 years if I was to make a bad decision, which was go to trial. Now there was a guy that was facing some simple charge that was maybe a 5-year maximum. And he took it to trial because, guys get ego involved, and now he's been in there 30 years because they found him guilty, you know, and that's on. I know multiple people in that situation, but back to the real question is the highs and lows is like, yeah, I was sitting in that cell. I mean, 7 days in the grand scheme of things is not that long, but if you're staring at a wall for 7 days with nothing, that's it. You just nothing, like literally nothing. You get your food through a little tiny thing like this. They unlock the thing, boom, chow. They yell chow, and then you know the guards are just you're living next door. Like they come through. You don't sleep. Every 30 minutes they come in with these massive bright lights to make sure that nobody's killed themselves. And so, and people are killing themselves. You hear people killing themselves. You hear people just losing their shit. Like guys have been in there. The guys that blew up the World Trade Centers the first time were in these cells for 3.5 years without ever seeing the light of day. They lost their minds. There's the guys next door to me. You can see through the little window where they're 6 months. And you can't. You have no concept of time. You're not talking to anybody. You have this little thing where you can see if it's daytime or nighttime, and that's it. So you start to question your own reality. You start to question your own existence. You're like, am I even alive anymore? Like, is this a dream? Do my family remember me? Is the outside? You forget the outside world even exists fast. And not only like in prison, in that prison environment, you forget that the outside world exists. But if you're in a little room like that, you have nothing. It's just you, and you're confined to like not even any external stimuli of like looking at like art, you know, or talking to someone. Like there's nothing. So luckily, I had enough meditation experience, I guess, where I just try to dive deep within for as many days as I could. And you'd work out. I just do like one day I did 1,000 push-ups. And there's no sunlight, and you have a lot of trouble sleeping, so nobody sleeps. You can't. It's like it's literal hell, man. And people are living this reality every single day, and it is human suffering, and no one sees what really goes on, you know, because there's a lot in there. So, but I got out of there, and it really puts things into perspective. Like even I saw my parents a couple days ago, and I just came to their house. I just gave them a big old hug, and I just looked. I was having kind of like a rough day, and I'm like, I'm here. I'm free. I'm so happy to be here right now and be looking at you guys. I'm happy to be here. This is amazing. Like I love your guys' show, and I love just being right here right now because it really puts things into contrast where. I don't even I'm getting a sip of water that's clean. Like I get to go, I can go eat food right now that's good, not freaking expired food from an animal feed mill. Like
some schlop,
some serious shit, man. So it puts life into perspective. And I think somebody with my mindset that has developed over time to be like a pretty intense, person, I think that God or the universe or whatever you want to believe really needs to put something very serious in your life for you to truly learn from it, like especially stubborn people. And I have learned from this in a massive way. And yeah.
Magic. I want to go deep. Let's keep going deep.
Let's go deep, man. Say whatever. I'm an open book. Say whatever you want.
Yeah, you talked about how you had kind of a divine experience the night before the World Cup where you kind of predicted what was going to happen in your mind. You've talked about meditation, getting you through these tough experiences in solitary confinement. And earlier in the lobby, we were talking off air, and you mentioned, it all got sparked through an experience with the medium.
Yeah. So my ex-girlfriend, I mean, I could talk about this for days, but my ex-girlfriend lost her mom at a young age. And then when my best friend died, my best friend's mom went to see the medium and then told my ex to go see the medium. And then my ex played the recording to me. And it was just like my best friend was trying to get a hold of me through the spiritual realm. And I'd never heard of such a thing in my life. But I went and saw this medium. And, and there'll be people out there that are, not open to this type of thing. And if you're not, then just don't listen to it. But I know what I know, and I know what I believe, and I know that if I believe something, then I want factual proof of it, and I want to understand it for myself before I just believe somebody's bullshit. And when I went to see this medium, I saw that he was tapped into something that I was not, and I saw that he was seeing things that I was not. And this all started because of the recording that my ex-girlfriend played my best friend was telling me all this stuff that only I could know. Now, that, like I said, I'm a pretty obsessive person. That spiraled me down a rabbit hole of spirituality and psychology and wanting to understand, what is this? What are we all doing here? How are we here? Is there more realms? Is there more dimensions? Are we interdimensional? Are there other life entities? Are there past lives? Are there future lives? All that type of stuff. And I dove very deep into it, and I have definitely experienced things that otherwise I would never have experienced. And I think if somebody's open to listen to this type of stuff, they'll understand what I'm saying. And if they're not, then they won't. But there's a lot more to what we're doing here in this physical world.
So speaking with this medium too, did it bring you comfort? What did you find with your connection with your friend that had passed? What did you learn?
Well, it's not just him. Like, I've had lots of friends that have passed, and they've come through, and family and stuff. And what I mean come through is like, come through to the medium. And then basically I was like, all right, I got to figure out how this dude's doing this. And I just kept going back to him. I was like, please teach me. And then, I just kept meditating. And then I started to develop that muscle. And anybody can develop that muscle. But he was, really explaining things that, and I was starting to tap into this other world, really. And people are like, all right, this dude's fucking crazy now. But it is what it is, man. And, I just think that if you want to find that world, then you can find it. And I would just say, if you're interested in that, then just meditate and really seek out. I mean, there's a lot of bullshit people out there that are trying to sell you just false stuff. But I would just say, just center yourself, start with yourself, and meditate, and you can find the answers. I feel, I don't want to preach, I feel like it's like something that you got to find yourself. And I'll just sit here and say that I know what's real for me, and I know what I've experienced, and I know that, the things that I've seen, and if you want to find it, go find it. Yeah.
I love it. Silk, why don't we rip through the rest of these Patreon questions?
I like that. This question's from Nate Robertson. You clearly have had some of the most badass adventures of any person alive. Out of all of them, which one stands out, and what is something you learned from it?
Oh, man. That's a deep question. I mean, I would say there's no question that if you want to categorize, the different adventures, that this plane situation has by far knocked the ball out of the park. I mean, just for the diverse range of situations that it has caused. Like, certain people, that just the whole thing from start to finish, it went from, the actual stunt and the actual accomplishment of like doing that, and then the whole situation from legally learning about the law, understanding what may happen, watching like from the courtroom perspective. That's like intense. You walk into a federal building, you're surrounded by U.S. Marshals, and like you're in the real deal. Like, that whole, I would just say from an adventurous standpoint, like, I mean, like, I'm serious. Like, you walk into a courtroom, and here I am with my close friends and family, and you watch, this federal judge literally say, you understand that I can use my rights as a federal judge, and I can choose to give you probation today. Do you understand that? Yes, sir. Do you also understand that I can exercise my rights as a federal judge and give you 20 years in prison today? Yes, sir. Okay, let's begin. That's like, I was like,
holy shit.
Whew. So it's like, okay, that's the swing. And then you watch whatever his judgment is going to be. Like, you're watching this man's words decide your life, And I know we've talked a lot about the plane today, but like, as far as, learning, like, I mean, that's an intense moment right there where, you could hear a pin drop where everyone's just like, all right, what's about to happen? But then, like the repercussions, like learning and spending, months and months of time around the people that I did in prison, like, and learning about their lives and their actions and, all the things that have gone wrong for like just from the diversity of that whole thing and learning. It shook the tree of life for me in every way. Also, like certain people like, you know, judged me or looked at me differently. And then like my close ones just got closer, you know, and like that was a beautiful thing, especially for this next chapter of life, just because it's kind of just, you know, like I said, shaking the tree metaphorically. And then other than that, I would just say like, I think I've learned a lot from injuries. You know, I've had a lot of injuries and a lot of really close calls and a lot of like, how did I not die, but I'm still here type things starting at a very young age. But, you know, I would say that that's the one that stands out the most. Yeah.
Okay, when you're sitting there and you're potentially facing 80 years and there's a lot of fear involved with that about your life changing drastically and being put in a not comfortable situation that is federal prison. It sounds terrifying. Of all the scary shit you've done, I'm sure that's probably got to be the scariest. And also, how did you regulate your emotions in that experience?
So at first I wasn't intimidated or scared because I just didn't know what to expect. You know, I was just like, I don't know, like just kind of see how it goes. I just show up. I mean, I didn't get arrested, so I self-surrendered and my girlfriend dropped me off and I was just like, okay, like bye. And I like walked from her to the guards and then they like put me behind the gate and then they checked me in and anyway. And then you start to realize like how the prison world works and the you know, the politics and all the real shit that goes down and how it goes down and that stuff. So that's scary. You'd be lying if you weren't scared. Like everybody in there is scared, and that's why gangs are formed. That's kind of the situation there. And there were some scary situations. Like all of a sudden, it's like lockdown or like everybody out, and then you get searched. Everyone's getting searched. The dorms are getting searched because there's a lot of drugs in there. There's a lot of burner phones. There's a lot of contraband is what it's called, and people bringing stuff in and doing all that. So it's like it's high tense situation for sure. But then as far as like the learning experiences has all come from spirituality and injuries. So like I exploded my L2, my spine, and that took me out for a long time. And that was actually at Travis's house. I immediately went numb and couldn't feel my body. And that was like a terrifying thing. And like, I learned a lot about myself from that situation. And then also like if you want to learn and you want to go into the spiritual realm, that every physical injury or illness has an emotional cause, and people can either believe or not believe that, but it's deeply rooted, and I seem to personally believe that. And then there's just been a lot of I've like first time I broke my foot when I was 3 years old, and then I dislocated my shoulder when I was 9, and then I broke my other arm when I was 10, and then like 13 broke my ankle the first time, 15 broke my other ankle, like broke my neck, broke my back, broke my tailbone off my spine, knee injuries, bruised the bottom of my femur when I was 13, tore my MCL, ACL, like all the just stuff. So it's like with that downtime, you learn like it's the universe, it's God slowing you down. It's like, hey, just not, if you're not going to slow down, I'm going to force you to slow down. And that's exactly what the lesson has underlying been in my life through all these things is like, I just thank God for teaching me those lessons. And sometimes those lessons are hard to learn, but you're either going to learn from your mistakes and become a better person for it, or you're going to learn the same lesson twice and probably not make it out alive. And I've noticed that with friends and even myself, where it's like the universe, it might offer you a second chance, but it's probably not going to offer you a third. And I've seen that, and I've seen it, I've seen a lot of people not be offered a third.
God, it's just spitting facts over here. This guy's been running it hot for his entire life. Sometimes you got to back it down a little bit.
Pump the brakes a little.
Pump the brakes. Don't be afraid of pulling the clutch and just hit that rear brake.
Slow it down. Just sit in a room. Like that's where I really found myself. I was injured with my back injury, and I've broken my back 3 times, but the last one. The last one,
it's amazing you're still like walking and you're all good.
Amazing you did a foot race with Danny, actually.
Yeah, man. I know. I'm like, damn it, I actually do think my knee's jacked. But just lock yourself in a room, dark, silent, for a day. Try it, like 8 hours, and that's what I did. I just lay on my back. And there's actually Joe Dispenza who... So I didn't know this. There's a movie called Heal. And I watched that movie like 2 years after my back injury. and he talks about designing and imagining his healing from a bicycle injury that he had. And I did that just naturally. I would lock myself in a room 8 hours a day, and I wouldn't eat. I would go to the bathroom if I had to, but I would just lay there and I would visualize my healing. And, like for that experience, like five different surgeons, the U.S. team surgeons in, Vail, and like Travis's surgeon, Pastrana's surgeon, like all these different, like NFL surgeon, they're like, you have to get surgery on this. Like your spinal cord is 5 millimeters from being severed, and your whole spine is being impinged. Like all your bones are completely crushed. And I was like, yeah, but I can still like move. I can still like kind of crawl, and I can stand up for like a few seconds, and I'm just gonna like wait. And I didn't know which surgeon to go with, so I was like, I'm gonna wait a few weeks before I decide, and I'm just gonna lay there. And as I was laying there, I straight up started to visualize my healing. And I still don't really understand how this works, but people are probably going to say, oh, you're full of shit. I don't give a fuck, because this happened to me. I would lay there and I would just visualize my bones coming back together. And I would visualize like just the healing and visualize my new version of myself and all this stuff. And like the next day, like let's say day, 10 of that, I could walk like 30 feet. Then I could walk like 100 feet. And then I could stand up for like 10 minutes. And I had this big, like, back brace thing that's all connected, whatever. And I just kept doing it. So all I'm saying is just like, if you want to really find out, like just disconnect, throw your phone off, just sit in a room for like a whole day. And I promise you, I mean, at least if you have some issues and need to slow it down, like it'll probably solve some of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're interested, sink your teeth into some Joe Dispenza too.
He's awesome.
I smack his meditations daily. Not an exaggeration. They're really, really good. I love that. I didn't know you were into him. Cool. Well, I feel like we've been jamming here. Why don't we move on to hot takes here? It's a staple of the show. Basically, we're just going to ask you a bunch of semi-rapid fire questions.
Let's do it, man.
First one is, in terms of snowboarding, actually, you could take this however you want, but who is your GOAT, your greatest of all time, both male and female?
Can there be multiple?
The answer is usually no, but you could get to a final answer and include a couple along the way if you need to.
Well,
a couple honorable mentions.
Like the three I feel like that come to mind, just strictly based on mentality and skill, would be number 1, Kevin Jones. Number 2, and they're not in this particular order. I would just say Kevin Jones, Travis Rice, and Shaun White. Like they're not necessarily my GOAT, but I would say that like those guys have impressed me the most over a period of time in snowboarding. And then like I don't know, like out of those 3, yeah. I don't know.
Pick and choose.
Yeah.
Deal.
You got to pick one.
Fuck it.
Can't dodge.
I mean,
it, dude.
overall, man, just like the gnarliest dudes, probably Travis Rice. Like just like the shit that I've seen that dude do is next level. Like I don't think he's ever been outdone on just a strictly just savage snowboard mode. I don't know. I mean, like argue with me or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like over the history, I mean, going back to, again, like the 90s, and of course there's like, the Terriers and like all the different people, but just just sender. I mean, seems like he's done it to the max.
Okay, who you got for female?
Overall, I mean, man. Okay, so I would say like overall, because I named 3 men, I would name. There's like 4 probably. The 4 that come to mind first is like Tara Takitas, Barrett Christie, and Jamie Anderson and Anna Gasser. They're from different time frames, and
those are 4. We're looking for a singular name.
Fuck, man. Honestly, like just skill based, I would just say Anna Gasser. Yeah.
There you go. Would you say snowboarding art form, sport, or lifestyle?
Lifestyle ruined by the thought of it being a sport that then turned into a sport and is now a sport.
Steel or powder?
Powder, for sure.
Okay, who's got your favorite style ever on a snowboard?
You know who I really used to love watching on rails back in the day when we were young bloods was Lucas Magoon. Oh, yeah. I loved his rail style, man. He was just like, he just freaking, I don't know what that dude's up to today, but like back in the day, he's just like so freaking just G'd out, just doing like the craziest front boards or like, you know, front blunt 270 out, like on just, he was just dialed on rails. And I mean, and JP, I guess I have so many like.
Yeah,
JP,
we like Gooner's a great answer. We'll keep it moving. Who's got your favorite method?
Mike Ranquit.
What's your favorite snowboard video ever made?
The Creatures of Habit movie called Demented Chowder Pilots. You guys have probably never even heard of that, but I mean, no offense, but it's like a very like rare movie that came out from the Krusty guys, and it was just like a legendary. Like it had dirt biking and snowboarding.
What's your favorite board graphic ever made?
I think it was 06 or 07, the Youngblood graphic. It had like a bunch of like different crazy designs on it, and I got to help Evan Rose design it. Or I think he hit me up. I was like super young, and I was grateful. I really liked how it was all like sporadic and stuff. It was like red and black.
Fantastic. If you could go heliboarding with 3 people in the world, they could be celebrities, they'd be whatever, hypothetical. For example, Kevin Backstrom took Charlie Sheen in his heli.
Oh, yeah.
And who you got?
My mom, my dad, and my brother.
Easy. That's an easy 3-pack Shakur. Okay, dream sponsor, anything in the world, doesn't have to be snowboard related.
Blue Origin or SpaceX, because I want to go to space. I'm serious.
I know. It's insane. Okay, first try go to backcountry must land like step down. What are you putting down?
Probably like a front 3 stale.
Yep. Great choice. Last question would be worst trend. What do you got?
Thinking that you deserve something when you didn't earn it.
Great answer. You want to elaborate on that?
I just feel like, you know, we're becoming more of a, you know, kind of society that feels like you're entitled to things because there's so much stimulation and everyone has their 15-second highlight reels and life's so great. And I feel like that's kind of getting mixed in the way of actual real life accomplishments. And it's not easy. Like like accomplishing things in real life is a very difficult task, but I feel like there's this mix between now, like someone has, you know, 10 million followers so that they think that they're better than some dude that's like just raising his family and doesn't have Instagram, you know? Like I just feel like, I mean, that's different. It's more comparison, but you know, and that person may have the guy that's raising his family may have done so much more for the world and accomplished so much more, but this entitled, you know, person that thinks he's great because he has influence, like I just see that as something that needs fixing.
I think people need to remember that it's okay to lose. People lose sometimes. That's just life. If we're, you know, taking it to like a sports thing, like a participation trophy type deal, like like deserve something that entitled to something they don't deserve.
Honestly,
like that part of the world is getting taken away so much. Like it's okay to lose sometimes.
Yeah, I would say as a shorter answer, 100%. Like participation trophies shouldn't exist. You know, you either won or you lost, like, or you got second or you got third or you got 10th. Like, and that kid that got 10th place that gets the gold medal, just like the winner, no, like you're fucking him over for life because he's going to lose that fire to like.
You're taking the hunger away.
Yeah. Like, oh no, I got 10th. Damn it. I want to win next time. Well, what do I got to do to win? I got to train harder. Okay. Well, I'm going to train harder then, or I'll give up. Like, no, you didn't get a trophy for not trying. That's going to make you weak.
Sounds like we're talking about celebrating mediocrity a bit.
Yeah. I mean, and that's fine. Like, it's not like if most people are mediocre, you know, and that's just life. Like, and then there's like a Michael Jordan or a Tiger Woods that just hits the ball out of the park. No pun intended with another, but it's, you know, like that's why that exists. It's
okay to be regular.
Yeah.
You just be a regular dude.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not preaching. I'm not saying to be anything like me. That's for damn sure. I'm not like, as far as like, yeah, I'm not, you're saying I'm not, yeah. Like I kind of wish I was like, it didn't have that pull to go off the rails sometimes and do something wild. Yeah.
Stick the fork in the like socket.
Exactly.
Cool. Awesome. What snowboard are you riding these days?
Man, I was riding the,
not in prison, but the year prior.
yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, I didn't have a snowboard in there. I was riding the LibTech Fish. It was like a Mayhem surfboard collab, and then I was riding a GNU Gremlin.
Whew.
Yeah,
love that.
Oh, and then I had the Orca too, and I was like just riding that in the park and riding that in POW and riding it everywhere. The Orca is definitely like my favorite snowboard, probably.
Last time we rode, you still got it? Where's the skill set at?
Man, I think I got it. You know, I'm excited. Like I really want to just go ride some big mountains. I really want to go just ride POW and, you know, just go hike up some mountains or just be in the backcountry.
I got a question. After you go skydiving, is snowboarding like boring?
No, it's just different, you know? Because like that's the thing for me. Like my dopamine levels and adrenaline is like, it takes so much to do something now. Like allegedly can go do something like just, you know, jump off El Capitan in Yosemite or do something that's like that. And I'm just like, okay, this is awesome. Let's go. But it's not like I'm like just like, oh, like dopamine's not firing. And it's like that level to get that rush is so much greater now that I just want to go do something that's recreationally fun. So like I enjoy skydiving. I love jumping out of planes. I also love riding down a steep, scary line. Yeah. Cool.
That's awesome. So I guess a couple more things. What's next for Trevor Jacob?
Yeah, still kind of picking up the pieces. This thing has, you know, it's really served as a massive pivot point in my life. This whole plane deal, and for good reason. I think it kind of just put a big block in the last chapter to let me start fresh. And you know, I'm excited to have a family in the future, and I really think that has made me, or you know, like this whole prison thing, and realizing how important family is, and having, you know, my parents and my girlfriend and my brother like visiting me, and then not being there in, you know, most of the time, like being able to come visit when it was allowed. That made me realize like just how important family really, really is to my core. Other than that, yeah, just you know, like this thing just decimated me. I'm talking basically in, you know, the millions of legal fees and just detriment. So I'm working on a website that is kind of just a DIY. I've been working on it for a while. It's called funt.com. It's short for fun times, and it's something I want to do to give back, and it's an instructional, you know, student to teacher marketplace, and where, you know, you can go on there and find somebody to teach you surfing or skydiving or, you know, jiu-jitsu or snowboarding even, and I'm just getting that started. So I'm curious to see where I can take that. And then I also started adventured.com. It's just a little like also DIY clothing brand. But other than that, I'm just focusing on you know, my mental health and how to give back on the community level. So, you know, I'm really involved with teaching kids jiu-jitsu and teaching skydiving, and just really trying to get back to my roots for now. And what's next is probably just really trying to stay in my passions and make worthwhile goals within those passions, and just try to be a good person to the ones around me and the people I come into contact with. So other than that, there's not like some massive thing on the radar that I'm going to accomplish, at least not yet. So stay tuned.
Amazing. Wow. What a show. Daniel, hell of a show.
That was awesome.
Do you want to throw any thank yous out before we wrap this thing up?
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for having me. You know, and I think, you know, I mentioned a lot of people that have been, you know, there for me. There's so many people. I mean, so many people that mean so much to me. And if you're watching this, you know who you are. And thank you to the snowboard world. Thank you to Action Sports. Thank you to, you know, all the people that have put in their blood, sweat, and tears to not only snowboarding, but again, Action Sports, to give us a place to call home, that feels like home, that I feel for me is like the foundation of really who I am as a person. And, you know, I just, thank you to my family, my parents, my brother, you know, all the dear friends that have stuck with me and you know, been through so much with me. And like I said, if you're out there watching this, you know who you are and what you've put in or what we've shared. And I love you all. Thank you.
Damn, what a good show. I appreciate you for coming on here, sharing your story, sharing some wise words, sharing everything about the journey, the ups and downs. That was a real pleasure, Trevor. Thanks for chatting with us.
Man.
Can't say thank you enough.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, there's like I feel like we just scratched the surface, but
Yep.
we've been here for a while. Thank you guys. You know, I'm so stoked that you guys put, you know, this show together and are doing what you're doing, and it's really allowing so many people to connect and I love it. So thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate it. All of our Patreon members, everybody that subscribes to our show, everybody that listens, all of our sponsors, thank you guys. Silk D, thank you for production guruing.
Of course.
Daniel, great work. Daniel, do you want to hit the sign off?
Sure. That was good shit.
You take us out?